I'm janked up and I'm danked up and I'm satisfied. You bend it down and you poke it up and you elevated,
I came over, I ain't sober, I'm still drunk, that's hangover. Might run it back when this page over. You the best thing I done slaved over. Gon' arch you back and been way over. It's overdue for that understressing. Over him, now you underdressing. Call me up and I come finessing. Like, ooh, we shot it, what it do, what it don't. Baby, you a queen, you can move how you want. You was rocking with me when I couldn't stay afloat. They ain't never saying nothing wavy to a boat. Like, eyes up, look at me, now I'm the captain. Brought the camera, time for action. Split the legs just like a fraction. Tuck the napkin, time for snacking. You a mother meal. Tell me that it's mine, baby, tell me that it's real. Hit it to the max, well, tell me how it feel. It's gonna be a minute, cause I'm in it for the thrill. Make her feel like heaven, she gon' put me in the wheel. And willingly, I wanna do anything she wanna do. I ain't even wanna boo, but this is what the karma do. It's hard to be apart from you, cause ooh, I
love it when I get so high and drop that thing so low. Make you sit right here. Now you can't go back home. You love it when I get so high and drop that thing so low. Make you sit right here. Now you can't go back home.
I'm janked up and I'm danked up and I'm satisfied. You bend it down and you poke it up and you elevated. I'm janked up and I'm danked up and I'm satisfied. You bend it down and you poke it up and you elevated, you elevated, you.
Look, why you mad? Get to the bag. Long face, duck a case, get the cash. I've been living fast, still far from average. Real talk, all this shit is right outside what I imagine. Young, black and raspy, catch me with a lab. Young nigga make the slap that make her body do magic. Won't stop till my bank account magnets. Looking like I'm still running paper routes backwards. Money bags, no advance, snap back like a rubber band. Pretty thing with a suntan, make it bounce back when you do the dance. Call my song, we supposed to pick. See your things through a different lens. Living fast, only one chance. Never pants, how we do the plans. Right? I practice what I preach. They lie and put around my way, thinking lost to see. Not sure what you wanted, but I'm what you need. I know my high just started, but I hit a peak, yeah. Wave, used to just wanna blend in. Big flex, how I do the syntax now that I got the attention. On the rig, you make it really hard to just wanna be friends. Treat the night like a vignette for what's coming next, hard to see the end. Yeah, I tread water in the deep end. I'll die young and live plenty days on my defense. In real life, we just pretend, let them sleep in. We should life feeling like a never-ending repeat of the weekend. Yeah, got it. Switch up how I breathe every time I see it. Yeah, knowing what you want, I know just what you need. Yeah, yeah. Here's the thing, I got you falling through for the weekend. Since I put it down, how you mean? Look, bet I make it all, don't wanna leave. It ain't nobody business, it's been at it, something rigorous. I traded in the cars, it was lost for the dividends. I'm calm, but the temperament been strong when I pencil in. Phone steady, jumping, screening calls like I'm flipping bricks. Got everybody tapping in, but you been kept it solid. When you look me in the eyes, subtle till I know you got it. When you do the sauce, make me want it a la carte. Caught me looking at it like the bullseye of the target, double tap it. Since day one, but I'm seasoned. But the working off season. It's talk like they ball hard when all they really do is reach in.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back. It's the Nathan Ivey Show. Hey, listen, please take a second to like and in particular share today's show. When you see the show, when you share the show, more people see it. Got a big show for you today. Today is sort of like an Ask the Experts type of show. So starting at 8:30, between 8:30 and up until 9:30 a.m. this morning, you'll get an opportunity to ask the experts your questions about COVID-19 and the vaccine. And in particular, we're going to be focusing on the African-American, or should I say the Black community, how it's affecting us. We'll also get a chance to talk with the person who's behind the Push to Zero campaign. That's right, zero infections. That's all coming up today. Now, that starts at 8:30. Before that, man, you know me, a smattering of topics on people, politics, and pleasure. But again, at 8:30 a.m., we'll speak with Dr. Laura Crosby from Children's Hospital. about the COVID-19, the vaccine, and in particular, how it impacts the Black community. We'll also talk with Dr. Robert Frenick from Children's Hospital, and he's an expert on COVID vaccines. And we'll talk about the vaccine that's actually supposed to roll out today. There's a big vote today, if you don't know about it, that could streamline and or fast track or warp speed, as Trump would put it, the vaccine and its availability to the general public. We'll also speak with Don Day from the Cincinnati Health Collaborative, and we'll talk about the Test and Protect testing initiative, why, what, and where. And of course, we'll talk with Regina Carswell, and we'll talk about the Getting to Zero campaign. That's all coming up starting at 8:30 a.m. If you have any questions, the best way to get a question in will be to leave a comment. Leave a comment, and I'll try to make sure we mix your question in this morning. Here's my number, 513-873-7134. I think today is a very, very important show, so I want to give you enough time to make sure you share the show on Facebook so people can see it. If you're on YouTube, maybe post a link on your social media account from our YouTube page so that more people can see the show this morning. And we'll get started in about 1 minute, family. Don't go anywhere. This is the Nathan Ivey Show, the last honest place in America, brought to you by the good folks at Sin Digital Media. Their mission is simple: amplify Black voices. We'll get started.
Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
Yeah. Talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a that's what they don't understand.
Back again like flu season. I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving. Don't give a I don't care. Did the for my lonesome. No wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run. All I really want is my share. Get on my God, on my told him it's nothing. In the discussion, got them feelings I throw all my pain on percussion. The disgusting. I hear them bragging about that they did, and it do not move me, not in the least. They ain't been dropping no seeds in the soil, but swear that you on my spot at the feast. I've been on go mode, showboat, rowboat, wave ride. Cool shorty, too naughty, pool party, wet for the face ride. Annie up, penny down, hand me down, thrift store, old drip. New money, too funny, old shorty, talk about old. I'm on they now, can't get a pass now. I'm a cash cow, keeping it brash now. It's trash now, I'm a spaz out. I've been killing my lows and living on highs. You see in the skies the proof. You could just see in my eyes that there is no lies. I cannot disguise the truth. I've been duck dog, getting in my new merch, colored duck sauce on the new couch with my Chucks on. Get the on with that hate. I'm big cool on the small chat, cause I know now that I'm all that. Got a hawk guy on the ball cat, get the out of my face.
Talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Thanks for your time this morning. I really appreciate you, as I made sure I got things in order before we went live this morning. As always, a lot of stuff to talk about. On today's show, if you missed the intro maybe just a couple of minutes ago, starting at about 8:30 a.m. this morning, we're going to be talking, some real talk about COVID and the vaccines, all right? And I want to give you as much information as I can to help you to make sure that we are as healthy as possible. You know, this vaccine is right around the corner, and a lot of people are saying that this is the best case scenario in terms of trying to slow down the virus. And I think it's really important for media to be a part of that effort of educating people. And I understand and I find it completely valid anybody's concerns about taking the vaccine. I've shared my own concerns with you. I completely understand. So I just feel like it's I want to do my part to educate people as much as possible about what's happening, what's going on, and what you need to know, so we can make the best informed decision about whether you're going to take the vaccine or not. And I still believe that there's a lot of information that we don't know about the coronavirus. So starting at 8:30 a.m. this morning, I've got some experts coming in, some local experts. They're actually going to be sort of zooming in on the show this morning. So what does that mean? Well, that means you'll get a chance to get your questions in. The best way to do it is to send me a comment. I'm going to try to go through your comments and your questions as much as possible this morning. Pardon me. That's going to be my focus. So you've had any questions about COVID-19, you got any questions about the vaccine, don't feel like, there's no dumb questions. You know what I'm saying? Just send them my way, and I'll make sure I put them in front of our experts, our panels this morning. We'll have them we're scheduled for an hour. So I think that's a good amount of time to get as many questions as possible. Now that's at 8:30 a.m. Along the way, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, family. We got a lot of stuff to talk about along the way. 513-873-7134 if you would like to share your thoughts this morning. And you know me, I like to start the show off with some stories to get your morning started. Again, that's my number. There's only one maxim for this show. That's rule. Open your mind before you open your mouth. That's it. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I am doing well. Hope you're doing well. It's been a beautiful It's been a very interesting 24 hours, man. I was on Facebook and I saw a number of different things that I want to talk about, not the least of which is this viral video that appeared to be like a football coach. Did you see this? Somebody posted in, I think it was Daryl. Shout out to Daryl, posted in the Friends Who Like the Nathan Ivey Show page. I'm going to change, I think I might change the title of that group and just start being more active in there. You know, because there's nearly 1,000 people in there. And I'm like, you know, what's the point of having a group if that group ain't really, you know, more actively a part of the show and what we're building here and what I'm building here with CDM. So look for changes, probably even a title change of that group. I might repurpose it. But I'm in there heavily, very, very heavily, just kind of checking to see who's there, who's aware. Because people, I don't know about you, I'm in like 40 groups, literally. But I'm not in 40 groups all the time. I'm like here and there, depending on what catches my attention. I'm like everybody else. Hey, listen, if you haven't already done so, I'm going to talk more about this because it was brought up yesterday in the Friends page. People were like, well, Nate, I used to get a notification when you went live. Well, that was because we're probably friends on my personal page. And on my personal page, whenever I would go live with the show, you would get a notification from Facebook saying Nathan Ivey is live. Well, I switched that up over a month ago. And now I'm going live directly from CDM's page, that's Sin Digital Media's page. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that because I want to build up that platform. You know, I 100% believe in what I'm doing and what we're doing. And I want to build that platform up and also sort of share my audience with all of the folks. You know, it's like a funnel, you know, in a sense, with all the folks that are doing podcasts with CDM. And therefore, they share their audiences and we can build you know, a media platform that way. And it's working, quite honestly. And everything comes with a sacrifice. Yeah, sure. I could probably get bigger numbers personally on my page or pages, but you know, we before me, you know what I'm saying? You got to build. Sometimes you got to make a small sacrifice to get to the greater good. So if you're like, well, Nate, what happened? Well, all you got to do is go over to Sin Digital Media's Facebook page. And when a video comes up, just subscribe to the video feed. And what does that mean? That means whenever a video goes live, you're going to get a push notification. Simple as that. You'll get a push notification and you'll know when I'm live, when anybody's live here, all the podcasts and personalities that I'm sure you've grown to like. And if not, much more are coming. So that's what the deal is. I wanted to answer that question. People were like, well, Nate, where you at? And maybe they're waiting for me to post the show. You don't have to. You can just subscribe to CDM's Facebook page. It works just like a personal page, just to give you a heads up on that. But I'll give you a second to go ahead and please like and in particular share today's show. I've already done so. If I'm not sharing my own ish, why should you, right? I get it. But let's spread and share the gospel of flow this morning, right? Shout out to independent media. I'm 100% about that life at this point. And good morning to you. Welcome back. Like I said, many things to discuss. So I want to talk about this viral video in which this football coach, I don't know if it was his own son or whatever, but he smacked the heck out of the helmet of this little boy. And it just ticked me off, man. I thought about that video as I was going to sleep last night. I want to talk about that. Also, I want to talk about Tamaya Denard. I didn't get a chance to see L-Dub's show. I'm not sure if she was on the show. If not, I'm sure he did a great job. But I saw that on Facebook, she posted some things that she had done. I did reach out to Tamaya to see if she's interested in coming on the show. I'll say it again. I 100% support Tamaya Denard. I wish her the best. I'm sad about the things that are happening. Things happen. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's perfect. I'm not trying to lessen it. That's just how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to get me to get all super hard on it, I don't feel that way about it. There's very few people out here that is 100% squeaky clean. And, you know, you live and you learn, you know, simple as that. You got to deal with the consequences of your actions. It is what it is. But her Facebook post was very interesting. Anybody see that? Her Facebook post was very interesting. She talked about basically how she felt as if she was being treated differently than Jeff Pastor and PG Sittenfeld. She talked about how Joe Dieters basically, you know, strong-armed her, you know, forced her to resign or to step away from her seat. And she said she wasn't even given a chance to be suspended. And, you know, I thought about that as well. I was like, wait a minute, it seems different. It seems different. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember, like, from what I read in her Facebook page, that rings true to me. Like, I don't remember, why didn't she get suspended? Now, maybe it was because it was a shorter time frame and she admitted her guilt, copped the plea. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But it just seems like the process is, in fact, a little bit different. And a part of me wishes she had put that out before the election. Maybe that would have helped Fanon Rucker's chances, you know what I'm saying? Because white female Democrats basically did the brother in. But it is what it is. You know, we are where we are. Did you get a chance to see that Facebook post? If so, I want to get your thoughts about it. 513-873-7134. Yeah, man, people going hard. It's all about corruption and corruption and corruption and corruption. It's all about corruption. I got a chance to listen to just a little bit of the That's So Cincinnati podcast. They had Greg Landsman on, and your boy Jason Williams was going hard. Not really too hard, in my opinion. He just asking some difficult questions about Greg Landsman. And, Greg was trying to do his best to answer the questions. I was just talking to a buddy of mine about how, I feel like, while Landsman is an incumbent, he still has to deal with the specter of everything that's going on, primarily because he was a part of the so-called Gang of Five. It's just amazing to me how, I remember the text messages, right? And I think it was Wendell Young who referred to himself and therefore the entire group as the so-called Gang of Five. And then after that, the media and the Republicans that's the name. That's what he called you, so that must be what you are. And I'm like, well, that's amazing how that works. If you go to, like, Jason Williams does a show on 700 WLW, right? So if one of their hosts refers to themselves as Trumpsters, does that mean they're all Trumpsters? They would tell you no. But when it comes to these individuals that were part of the so-called Gang of Five, because one of them said it, all of them have to, they all have to answer to it. And ridiculous. It makes no sense whatsoever. Speaking of which, Chris Silbach, who's a member of City Council, some might say one of the most progressive members of Cincinnati City Council. It looks like he's thinking about putting his name into the hat to run for mayor. That's right. Oh, you thought it was over? Hell no. Hell no, it's not over. It's just getting started. It's not over. It's just getting started. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's not over. It's just getting started. It's just getting started. It ain't over at all. No. You're going to see more people. More people are coming out to run for city council. There's a new name as well that's put her name into the hat as well. And I'll share that with you in just a moment here. But what do you think about Chris Silbach for mayor? Now think of that's a crowded ass Democrat primary. So you have Kelly Prather, Raphael Prophet, Cecil Thomas, right? Wendell Young, David Mann, that's 5. And Chris Silbach, 6. And maybe there could be more names as well. That is a crowded ass Democrat primary. And again, as a member of the media, I'm here for that. I love it. I'm here for it. I'll be reaching out to everybody to get them on the show. I want to talk to you here on the Nathan Ivey Show. We want to talk to the choppers, want to chop it up with you. You know what I'm saying? Let's do that. Let's do that this morning. If not this morning, then sometime, a morning really soon. Let's chop it up in a way that only we can here on the Nathan Ivey Show. I keep it 100% real with you about all things. Don't ask me a question if you don't want to know the answer to it, because I'll give it to you. Simple as that. Good morning to you. How are you? Come on in. Hey, listen, please like and share today's show. I want to give you a heads up. Coming up in about 35 minutes, we're going to talk real talk about COVID and the vaccines. Real talk about COVID and the vaccines this morning. We must discuss these things. It must be discussed. I've got a panel of experts who are going to come in and talk about it starting at 8:30 a.m. Any questions that you have about COVID-19 and the vaccine, we'll get into it. Okay? We must discuss this morning. But let me circle back around here. I want to read to you a little bit of what Tamaya Denard posted. I thought it was very interesting. That she posted this. And I want to know if you saw it. Somebody posted it inside the friends page. So if you're inside that page and you check within the last 24 hours, I know you've seen it. How are you, by the way? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, this is dope. Hold on, let's see here. She writes, yesterday I sat down with John London to discuss how Joe Dieters literally forced me out of my seat. 2 days after my arrest, he reached out to my attorneys and threatened to convene a grand jury, quote unquote, within the hour to indict me on a charge that he admitted would later be dropped. Think about that. Is that true? She says that within 2 days, that Joe Dieters contacted her and told her that he was going to charge her with something that he knew would get dropped. But his whole purpose in doing that would be to trigger the Ohio Attorney General to remove her from office. She writes, anyone knows you can indict a ham sandwich. There was nothing we could do about an indictment regardless of its validity. Now, let me make a little side point here in my pettiness. Like, she just says something that had nothing to do with Tamaya Denard. I want to make this point real quick. She says that everybody knows that the prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich. Now, that's sort of common knowledge, that the way that the rules are set up, that the prosecutors can go behind doors and present evidence any way they want to a grand jury, that they have a high successful rate in doing so, right? So I want to go back and make a little point here. It's very, very important. Remember that brother, what's his name? Rashad Davis? Is that his name? The brother that Joe Dieters wanted to charge with a felony initially. Now they got a lawsuit. It's going to cost Hamilton County taxpayers big money because of that nonsense. But remember the brother who said F the coronavirus? Remember all the people was like, oh, he did something wrong and I was here telling you that he did not? Now you remember in that case what happened, right? He had two charges. One was a misdemeanor, one was a felony, right? A local judge threw out and dismissed the misdemeanor. And a grand jury failed to indict on the felony. What does that tell you? It goes back to what I told you before. It was a complete waste of time, taxpayer dollars, jury time. It was a complete waste. An over prosecution of this brother simply because he dared to say something about Mike DeWine and he used the word cracker. And these white males got in their feelings and decided to flex their power. So two things can't be true. It can't be true that a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich, but then when they didn't indict this brother, all of a sudden it was some kind of luck or some other nonsense. Goes back to what I told you. The brother did nothing wrong. Got to make that point. Now back to Tamaya Denard and what she said. She says, she writes, naturally, one would rather resign from their post than be removed. Dieters didn't pose that same bogus indictment threat to any of my former colleagues. I also wasn't given the same option that they have taken advantage of suspension with full pay and benefits. They also knew weeks or months in advance that they were under investigation and would be arrested. They went to their homes and arrested them in private. I was drawn to the business district of downtown Cincinnati to be arrested in public. So wait a minute. She said that they knew. Is she talking about Jeff Pastor and PG Sittenfield? She says that they knew that they were going to be arrested weeks, if not months beforehand, and were able to do it in a more, I guess, a lack of a better term, more dignified manner. At home, you're not in public, you know, the lights aren't there, the cameras aren't there. Like, again, if all of this is true, and I've got no reason to not believe her, why was there different treatment? Why was there different treatment? Why? If this is all true, then why did Joe Dieters treat her situation different than he treated the situation of her colleagues who were arrested and charged with given similar charges, after her? She writes, I'm on her Facebook page. She writes, on the face of the charges alone, there's a big difference. There wasn't a charge on my end to garner power or create a steady illegal stream of income. Cincinnati City Council members and state officials who called for my resignation have been radio silent or even openly supportive of my former male colleagues. The Democratic Party also asked my resignation and didn't demand the same from PG Sittenfield. Is this true? Have you observed this? If so, why? If so, why? Now, some people look at this and say, come on, Tamaya, just let it go. Just say you're sorry and move away, boo. That's it. But if that's her truth, that's her truth. I want to get your thoughts about that. Have you observed the same things? Does that ring true to you? Does it not ring true to you? I'm interested. I'm interested in what you think. Again, 513-873-7134. If you'd like to share your thoughts. She got 28 shares on this and a lot of comments. I left her comments just giving my support to her as well. I hate to see it. Like I told you, I hate to see it. Especially with people that I know, I hate to see it. It doesn't make me happy at all. But I am picking up on a different style and treatment as it related to Maya Dinar. I think what she's writing or what she wrote, it rings true to me. And I'm trying to figure out why. Is it a female thing? Is Joe Diaz going hard at the black female? Because, you know, Cincinnati can be very unkind to black females if they put you in the crosshairs. We know that. We know that. Come on now. We already know. Is it a female thing? Is it the details of the case? Is it a personality thing? I don't know. Is it true? Is it not true in your opinion, your observation? I don't know. You tell me. 513-873-7134. I want to share your thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts this morning. Hey, listen, to my audio folks, I got to say this up front. Up front, you may not be able to hear the interview. You might want to jump over and get on YouTube and or get on Facebook so you can hear all of the folks we got lined up coming up at 8:30. I want you to give as many comments as you may have. And if you got a question beforehand, you can go ahead and leave a comment. I'll be perusing the comments, you know, when we have them on, trying to get as many of your comments onto the show this morning. You know, that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, just so you know. So if you got a question about COVID-19, if it's related to anything, okay, go ahead and leave a comment for me, and I'll try my best to mix it in. All right, to my folks that's on text message, my texters, you got a direct line to me, and I'll be checking my text messages throughout the conversation to get your messages in as well. Okay, it's just another way of getting questions in if you're inclined to do so. You might want to just take a free ride on our thoughts this morning, sit back, chill, educate, whatever, do what you got to do. But I think this COVID-19 thing and the vaccine are at the top of the list. And again, it's to vaccinate or not to vaccinate. That is the question. And the experts are saying that the best way for us to get past this COVID-19 pandemic is for more people to get vaccinated. You know, Joe Biden says that a part of his three-pronged approach to COVID-19 is that within the first 100 days, he wants 100 million Americans to get the vaccine. 100 million Americans. Cincinnati Public Schools is already requesting that their teachers and perhaps even administrators be on the front line to get COVID-19 first. The vaccine first. How is the vaccine going to be administered? Is it going to be the same way that the tests were administered? Because that was like, you know, basketball players, elites, rich people first, and then the general public second. That's what happened. You know, when the vaccine is made public, then where will you go? If you want to get tested, where do you go right now? So a lot of questions. Again, 513-873-7134. I'm looking through the archives of the Nathan Ivey Show way back on March 2nd, 2020 of this year. The title of that particular podcast was Ultimatum from the Big House. The rest of the title was Dancing for Votes, Exploiting Kobe's Death. But Ultimatum from the Big House was a reference to the strong words of Joe Diaz. If you remember, he came down hard on Maya Dinar, like, you will leave right now, because if you don't, I'm going to flex. And that's the way I looked at it. You know, as I've said before, I think Joe Diaz kind of runs Hamilton County like a plantation. This is just my opinion. You can agree or disagree. And it was like he was shouting down his orders from the big house. Why the difference? If there is a difference in your opinion. Well, you tell me. Again, 513-873-7134. I'd like to get your thoughts. If you want to get your thoughts in within the next about 25 minutes, I'm here for it. How are you? Hope you're doing well. All right, let me jump over to the Chop Shop this morning and see what's up to the good folks. Pat writes, good morning. Miss D writes, greetings. Tracy writes, hi. Jared writes, good morning, hashtag team and I. Majestic writes, good morning, folks. Now, listen, when I say share, I mean, there's a couple ways you can share. You can share it to your personal page. Share today's show to your personal page. You can share it to a Facebook group that you're aware of where you think this kind of content. Both would be preferable, quite honestly. Majestic writes, good morning, folks. Hey, good to see you, Majestic. What's up, Jared? He writes, good morning, hashtag team and I. Of course, Tracy was first. No. Pat was first. Miss D writes, greetings. Tracy writes, hi. Then Jared chimed in. What's up, Majestic? Sharp writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. What's up, Brandon? He writes, good morning, Chop. Good morning, Choppers. Ray writes, grand risings all. DB Cooper writes a good morning. Good to see you. DB Cooper writes, I'm in Facebook jail. F that app. You know, you get suspended from Facebook, you get suspended from Twitter. I'm sensing that there's a common factor there, bro. It might be you, DB Cooper. What do you think about that? What the hell? Let me see. Tanika writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Tamaya writes, I did not do Lincoln's show yesterday. I was gag ordered. Is that right? Is that the official word or your opinion about it? Again, you know, shout out to L-Dub. I didn't get a chance to listen, so I don't know. I just assumed. Some people were telling me she was going to go on the show. I thought, oh, that's great. That'll be a hot show. Crystal writes, good morning. Tamaya 6'9". You wrong for that, bro. You wrong for it. Brenda writes, happy Thursday. I'm just saying, like I said, Jeff Pastor at this point is innocent until proven guilty. So I'll leave it like that. Let me see. Does Regina go by Carswell again, or is it Russo? I think it's Carswell Russo. So I think it is. I met her in 2001 when I interned at 19, trying to decide if I wanted TV sports and newspaper sports. I went with print, but to her credit, Miss Regina told me I was handsome enough to do TV. I just like newspaper writing. One of my many bad decisions I made from 2001 to 2015. All right. Let me see. DB Cooper writes, LOL, mother of gang of five. Really? Tamaya 6'9" writes, Nathan, meet PG at the park bench. I'm not sure what that means. Cassandra writes, hey, Choppers. I have not talked to you, boy. Stop. Y'all crazy. Mason Marler writes, morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good to see you. Jason Williams is still looking for former Jeff Pastor, former campaign workers. They hiding out more than Quando Rondo running from old block boys. R.I.P. King Von. You wrong, man. You wrong. You wrong. Let me see. Tamaya 6'9" writes, Nathan, you only talk on the mic, but you ain't even in these streets. Come out the house and get off the couch and meet PG at the park bench at noon. Okay. Iris writes, good morning, great people. Good to see you. Brian writes, good morning. Good to see you. Ray writes, ham sandwich perhaps, but definitely not someone who murders an unarmed black citizen. Thank you so much. You're so right about that. You're so right about that. Fox writes, what's good, fam? Everything, man. Life is beautiful. It's great to be alive. Iris writes, Dr. Nathan Ivey, please, Doc, ask Dr. French about the prolonged symptoms in children who have been infected by the virus. Yes, I will do that. I will do that. Yeah, I think his name is Frenick. Please ask him how long the vaccine is predicted to last once administered. Okay, I will put those questions in. I will. Again, if you got questions for our upcoming panel at 8:30 this morning, we're going to talk real about COVID-19 and the vaccines. What does that mean? What will the vaccine do to you? How will it be administered? What can you expect? If you don't take the vaccine, what can you expect? You know, how many people need to take the vaccine? I'm reading that this is some kind of new vaccine. What's new about it? What is a vaccine? What is? I want to get real basic at first anyway. I want to have real basic conversation about this because I feel like there's a real information deficit that we got to tackle first. We got to hit that first. Deshauna writes, good morning, all. Happy Thursday. Yes, happy Thursday to you. Andrea writes, morning, Nate and friends. Good morning to you. Anthony writes, morning, Chop Shoppers. Good morning to you. Danita writes, good morning, everyone. It is a great day to be thankful. Yes, it is. She writes, morning, Nate and friends from New Miami. New Miami, huh? Carmelita writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Jane writes, good morning. Hey, Jane, I sent you a Facebook message. Please take a look at it. Tanya writes, happy Thursday, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Sean's in the house. He writes, morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning, Sean. Dale writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Tracy writes, good morning. Drop Squad is on YouTube. He writes, hashtag get to the choppers. Haven't heard that sounder in a minute. We'll get to it. She didn't come on his show on the advice from her attorneys. Oh, okay. Is that what he said? Well, she's already been charged at this point, right? Not only charged, but she's been sentenced. But again, I mean, she got to do what's best for her. She got to do what's best for her. Lemmy writes, good morning. Shelly Shell writes, good morning. Brenda writes, good morning from Fairfield. Iris is on Facebook as well. Janice writes, good morning. Tiff writes, good morning, all. Alicia writes, hump day, Nathan. Hump day, Nathan and the Choppers. Oh, that is your hump day? Okay. TNT writes, good morning. Good morning to you. Lemmy writes, seems like the goal was to get control of council. Well, again, I would not be surprised, and I think it would be foolish to think otherwise if this was, I don't believe that this is just some virtuous hunt for the truth. I don't believe that. Because when I look around this world don't work that way. Where they do that at? I don't have any evidence other than, a few things that I'll keep to myself, but I don't have any direct evidence that this was like, I can point to one person, but I would not be surprised if a lot of this whole ball of thing got started through politics. Now, that's one part of it. The other part of it is you got to deal with the consequences of your actions. You can have all of the investigations in the world, but if you ain't doing nothing, cool. Now, even having said that, I mean, I'll say it again, the jails are full of people that didn't do anything wrong. They were forced to cop a plea because they didn't have the money or they were just dealing with something else. So let's be real. Let's be adult about this. Let's be real about this. And that's why I take a wait and see outlook. I take a wait and see outlook to a lot of things. Let's wait and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Let's wait and see what happens. Let me write. So now no sitting field for mayor, but man. Well, maybe not man, but it could be Silbach. It could be Mayor Prophet. It could be Mayor Prather. It could be Mayor Young. It could be Mayor Thomas. Okay, you got a lot of options there. And I don't have a problem with it. As a citizen and as a media person, I think it's going to be dope to have this upcoming Democrat primary. What I'm hoping comes from it are some really good ideas. We might get ideas from a candidate that doesn't end up being the Democrat candidate in November 2021. You know what I'm saying? But maybe there's some ideas that we can glean from it, right? That we can get something out of. That works too. That works too. That works too. 100%. I got no problem with that. Now, yesterday we talked about, and I'll be talking about this story and keeping my eyes on it. Yesterday we talked about this brother up in Columbus was shot because he had a sandwich in his hand. And you're getting conflicting reports about this. On one hand, we're getting a report, I think this is coming from law enforcement, that he flashed a weapon at law enforcement while he was driving, and then maybe the officer followed him or something like that to his home. On the other hand, we're getting reports that the guy was trying to key into his house, literally at the door of his home, and got shot fatally. Family says he was holding a sandwich and not a gun. So the eyes of the country are on Columbus as it relates to that particular story, and people are going to be watching. I'll be monitoring, and as things come up, we'll talk about it. But again, that's another example of why, black families are so nervous when their kinfolk leave the house. That's a great example of it right there as to why black families are so nervous, because in this country, unfortunately, you don't have to do anything wrong to end up dead at the hands of law enforcement. I'm going to go ahead and say it. You don't have to do nothing wrong about that. All this mistaken identity, everybody's sensitive. That's the reason why, if you remember last week, I brought a guest on who was talking about why we need to raise our voices, because right now they're trying to fast track a provision that would essentially take away the right to, not the right, but the need to retreat when you're being confronted here in the state of Ohio. You got some folks out there that don't want to have to retreat if they have any kind of confrontation whatsoever. I think that's especially dangerous for black people that live in Ohio. I think that's especially dangerous for black people that live in Ohio. Remember Trayvon Martin? You got some forces out there that want to mix up the whole stand your ground with their Second Amendment rights, where they feel like there's an extension of their rights, where not only do you have a right to carry a gun, but you got a right to kill somebody even when you had the opportunity to walk away just because you feel like it. Just because you feel like it. And there are too many road rage incidences. There's too many examples where you got people that's completely unhinged who are looking for an opportunity to kill somebody and get away with it. Yeah. I read within the last 24 hours that particular bill is being fast-tracked by the Republican majority in the state of Ohio. Black folks need to keep their eyes on that. Keep your eyes on that. Because to me, all that is a legal rationale to murder somebody and get away with it and say, oh, I fear for my life. Listen, if you got to do what you got to do and you got to go through somebody, you got to go through them. But if you have an opportunity to walk away, I think you should take the opportunity. You should have a legal authority or legal mandate to walk away, to not take a life if you don't have to. Now, I believe that way. There's a lot of people that don't believe that. They believe that as an extension of their Second Amendment rights, if you get in my way and I feel threatened, even if I have an opportunity, a really good opportunity to get away, leave the confrontation, I can just kill you. You might feel that way. We can talk about it. You see, Ballhead writes, good morning. Glenn writes, I'll give you credit, Nate. You were the first to come in defense of Rashad Davis. Yeah, that's the brother's name, Rashad Davis. I mean, it was clear-cut case. You know, he was a black dude that said something that the white male legal authority here in the state of Ohio, and in particular Hamilton County, had a problem with it. I'm just amazed that more people weren't outraged by that case. I'm just amazed by that. And you had Hamilton County prosecutors that were in court. I'll never forget this, talking about, well, he said F Mike DeWine, and he called Mike DeWine a cracker. Like, the prosecutor brought this up in front of a judge in Hamilton County as if that was a legal rationale to lock this man up. To me, that was amazing. That extremely dangerous. And you had even black folks out here who was like, oh, that brother was wrong. I mean, what you think about it personally is one thing. What the law should be is a completely different. I see people out here with some of their fashion choices that personally offend me. Does that mean you should be arrested? No, it doesn't. Meanwhile, since then, all kind of folks walking around here, they arguing against a mask during the mask mandate. So nobody gets arrested. But the black dude in Hamilton County, we're going to end up paying that brother. Watch. Lemmy writes, this is so confusing. Good luck, Victoria Parks, on her run for council. That's right, Victoria Parks, who, temporarily took the seat of Todd Portune, Hamilton County Commissioner, after he passed away while in office. And then she made a deal with the Democrats that she would step away after the election. Looks like she's making good on that. She's going to be running for council. Part of her platform is that of a disciplinarian. I don't know what that means exactly. I guess that's in the world of what's happened now. People have to do that, I guess. Disciplinarian? I don't understand, but I think that she brings a unique skill set, having been a Hamilton County Commissioner, having worked with the Hamilton County Commission, understanding how that works. And there's been some frustration between the city and the county. Perhaps she can speak to that. I don't know. We'll see. Danita writes, I am confused in the F coronavirus party. Nate, are you saying that the charges shouldn't have happened, but acknowledging that the party should have never have happened? Just want to make sure I understand, because, of course, two things can be true at the same time. I'm saying that the charges never should have happened, right? I mean, you might think, oh, that's not smart, but a felony over a party? Because he say F the coronavirus. But see, me, I look even deeper into that, Danita. It had nothing to do, in my opinion, about the coronavirus. It was because he bruised, it was white fragility. He bruised the ego and challenged the authority of the white male law enforcement authority here in Hamilton County and in the state of Ohio. In particular, when he said F Mike DeWine and called him a cracker, That's what pissed him off, in my opinion. You know, people might say, no, it was because of the law. Okay, great. Yeah. In my opinion, it was because he challenged their authority and they decided, oh, we going to show you, boy. We going to show you. And that's why I said, I mean, a felony guy spent like 2 weeks in jail. I'm a taxpayer. I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to house somebody in the Hamilton County Justice Center because he said F the coronavirus. Man, save that money for the real criminals. We ain't got time for that. So yeah, that's my take on it. And people mistake it. Like people think their personal opinion is supposed to be the law. Well, if that was the case, some of these fashion choices, man, you'd be locked up, in my opinion. You'd be locked up real quick. TNT writes, powerful black women that pose a threat cannot be removed, but destroyed. Yeah, I do remember Tamaya Denard was very, very, very strong. And I remember she told the mayor that to not white-splain to her. You know, is that the reason why Joe Dieters attacked her or came at her a little bit differently? Because, you know, she put herself on her radar, on the radar screen as somebody that's being like unapologetically, you know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know how this city works. As long as you stay within the margins, they love you. I mean, you can talk loud, but as long as you ain't talking loud and challenging certain areas, certain people, you know, you stay within the margins. It's all good. It's all good. Like if you're talking loud in this city about black people in particular, it don't matter how hard you go. The power structure will love you. But if you start to challenge the power structure, the status quo, oh boy, we got the problem. We got a problem here. Tell me I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's why, you know, you got a lot of people that have mastered the art of talking loud or saying nothing, and they seem to be able to maintain their positions. Because you ain't really saying nothing that really challenges the status quo. You can talk as loud as you want to. Beat your chest, do you Tarzan or whatever. It don't really mean nothing. So I don't know. I'm spitballing here. I'm just going by what I read. I can't tell you whether it's true or not. I can just give you my opinion about it. Glenn writes, I think it's a Democrat female and black thing. Could be. Kamika writes, she definitely issued a statement saying Tamaya should step down. They did. Maurice writes, glorious resurrection. I was watching something last night in a commercial. I didn't see the commercial, but I heard it at the end. The lady said, proven to kill COVID-19. A person would be an idiot to take that vaccine. Well, Maurice, I am glad you're here, fam. Please share today's show. Go ahead and share today's show. You know, coming up in less than about 10 minutes, I'm scheduled to bring a panel on of some people that have a whole lot more expertise on this matter than I do. And they're going to talk about numerous things, you know, when, where, how to get tested. They're going to talk about the vaccine and talk about COVID-19 and also talk about, you know, the push to zero as well, that campaign and how you can be a part of it and what you can expect from it and things like that. You know, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. I think there's a lot of disinformation out there. And I know that there's a lot of mistrust out there, a lot of distrust, and rightfully so. You know, rightfully so. I mean, given the history of our community and this country, you know, black folks are right. You have every right to be distrustful about these kind of things. In no way would I tell you that your distrust doesn't have a historical base. It does. I feel it myself. But that was then and this is now. That's all I'm saying. That was then, this is now. And so my interest is to give as much information as possible so you can make your decision for yourself. That's it. You make the decision for yourself once you listen to the experts, once you can get some questions in, you can hear other questions coming in, you decide for yourself. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And you know me, from day one, I was like, wait a minute, we got to take this serious, yo. This is no joke. This is no joke. You know, going back to that brother that had the coronavirus party, I wouldn't have been there. I don't think it was a smart thing to do in terms of the personal safety of the individuals and the potential for it to be a super spreader event. I would have, if he had asked me, Rashawn Davis, I would have told him, bro, that's a bad idea, man. Don't do that. It don't mean you should spend 2 weeks in jail. Come on, yo. It's that plantation mentality where we think we got to be super hard on us. Just like that brother down in Dallas. Don't get me started on him again. There's some people who think he acted right. So let me get it straight. You're going to teach me respect by disrespecting me. Okay. Yeah, that works. You're going to teach me class by showing no class. Yeah, that works. Man. Tracy writes, but people keep voting Dieters in. Yeah, they sure do. I don't keep voting Dieters in. But you're right. He must have some kind of appeal. He must be doing something right. Even if that's just raising a whole lot of money. But you're right. You're right. Nat writes, good morning, Facebook choppers. Maurice writes, we need to protect our women. We do. People also need to be better, make better choices. If you're a member of city council, you got to make better choices. Don't get caught with your hand in a cookie jar. Simple as that. That's what it comes down to. Like I said, I think I wouldn't be surprised that this is on some levels politically motivated, but they can be as your opponents, your ops can be as politically motivated as they want to be. If you ain't doing nothing wrong, you ain't got to worry about nothing in most cases. Simple as that. Stephen writes, good morning, all my good people. Have a great day. Hey, good morning to you, Stephen. No, I have been blocked on Facebook 13 times because of the truth I spoke. The longest I was blocked was 60 days. See, you know, and there are alternatives to Facebook. Like there's a couple of black Facebooks out there and other social media platforms. The problem is that the mass people aren't migrating to them. They're staying with Facebook. So if you're going to stay with Facebook, then you got to deal with Facebook rules. If you're going to stick with Facebook, you got to stick with Facebook rules. They set the rules right now. It is what it is. It is what it is. It is. If you don't like it, then stay off Facebook. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. I've never been banned from Facebook, but my website, nathanivey.com, was banned from Facebook. I don't know why. It could have been something I did and just didn't realize it, or somebody misreported me, or, you know, people that play that game, they'll report you because they know how Facebook works, and they'll sit back like, I got them blocked. And then it takes Facebook 2 weeks to figure it all out. And then meanwhile, you've been blocked. Sometimes that happens as well. But I hear about people being blocked on Twitter and all, Instagram. I don't get it, but it is what it is. Hey, Brandy writes, good morning. Hey, good to see you, Brandy. As always. C.O. Taylor writes, some people who received the COVID-19 vaccine reported to have uncomfortable side effects, including temps up to 104 degrees. Question, does that occur with each of the 2 required shots? Good question. Good question. Hold on, let me get my trusty pen and pad out because I want to make sure I get as many of your questions in as possible. Means everything. I'm just time stamping it so I can come back to it. That's all. Yeah, I want to make sure I get them as much as possible. Janine writes, good morning, Nathan and the Choppers. Alicia writes, God's morning, Nathan and the Choppers. Carmelita writes, PG is still running. Silbach put his platform on his page. Check that out. I did see his platform. I did see the platform, and I ain't against it. Silbach says that he led the charge. Hold on, let me go to it real quick. And to me, it says something. You know, all these Democrats who knew PG are now running for mayor. To me, that says something about what they think his chances are in the race. So he put out his platform. What is it? Number 1, community policing reforms. Continuing Cincinnati's groundbreaking police reforms from the collaborative initiative. As one of the first council members to call for body cameras nearly a decade ago, my track record is one of pushing for a police department that is integral and an open part of the community. 2, affordable housing and wage equity. Create a permanent annual funding source for the newly created Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I had to go through this on another day. I don't really have time right now. 3, racial and gender disparities. Having co-sponsored the salary history ban that prevents the city from considering a person's previous pay for a new position. Appoint a chief equity officer. Do we need a chief equity officer? Sounds like he's talking about closing those gaps. I'm with that. You talking about closing gaps now? Let me see here. Oh, hold on. Hold on. I'm getting a correspondence from the guest this morning. I want to make sure that they get a chance to get into the show. Let me make sure. Hold on 1 second here. All right. Yeah. So I just got a question from one of the guests. I want to make sure they get a chance to get in. Again, my hope is I want to get everybody on like a Zoom call, even though I don't use Zoom, but a Zoom call. Oh, okay. I see. We're starting to see people come in this morning. Yeah, we got Don Day backstage with the Health Collaborative. Hey, how you doing, Don? Can you hear me? I think she can. Yeah, she's nodding her head, so she can hear me. We got Don behind closed doors. Okay, now we got Regina in. Hey, Regina, how you doing? Hey, good morning. I think she can hear as well, or she's putting her earbuds in. She's backstage. So again, if you have any issues with the audio, and I predict that you might, and you're on the audio stream only, you might want to jump over to the video stream. Now, of course, I'm going to go back and make sure I update the podcast so everybody can hear everything on the podcast part. But I want to make sure you can interact and actually see our guest this morning. And again, my interest in this is to share as much information as possible. I don't have all of the information. Okay, now we have Lori. Hey, Lori, how you doing? Okay, they can hear us. So let's bring some folks on this morning. Starting with Regina. Hey, hi, Regina. How you doing?
Nathan, it's been far too long. How are you?
It has been. I'm doing great. Hey, Don. Hey, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome. And hello, Lori. Hello, Lori. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Listen, thank you for all your time. And Regina, especially to you, for all your work in the city, raising awareness about this, pulling everything together with the push to zero, our conversation this morning. So I want to start with you and just kind of have you push for zero and then introduce our guest. And then we'll go to Lori because I know we're working on some time constraints here.
Sure. So very quickly, Regina Carzal-Russo. I'm CEO and founder of Right Now Communications, a communications consultancy. And I was hired to lead the Regional COVID Communications Center, which is an information hub that aligns messaging, public health messaging from across the region to give people, individuals, and businesses tools to be able to live, work, and play safely through stages of this pandemic. We helped P&G, who created the Masks On campaign back in July. I know everybody remembers that Masks On campaign. We helped support that and spread that out into the region. Thank you, P&G. And now we are launching a second iteration of it. It's called Getting to Zero. Tri-State Strong is an hour-long broadcast. It's going to be tonight, streamed and broadcast on 6 different media outlets and platforms, together with media journalists, personalities, and people that we know and love and trust in this region, giving real talk about what it's been like in the last months and what we can do in the next few months to bring the positivity cases of COVID down to zero. Everyone can do something. If you watch tonight from 7 to 8, you'll find out what, and you will hear those voices. It was important for us to come on and talk with you, Nathan, and thank you so much for inviting us, because we want to empower our people, our community, to take control of their health and the community's health, and giving them the tools and the right information, not the wrong information, but the right information, so they can make informed decisions about what we need to do to get through this pandemic.
Absolutely. And of course, CDM will be a part of that as well, streaming it on our Facebook page.
And thank you so much for that.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we want to do our part to educate our audience and then again, let people make the decision for themselves. But I 100% believe that there's a trust deficit, which I want to talk about, and there's an information deficit. And so with that, Dr. Lori Crosby, I want to go to you. Just introduce yourself a bit, talk about your particular field of expertise, and then I want to get into some questions about COVID.
Great. So my name is Lori Crosby. I'm a psychologist at Cincinnati Children's, and one of my areas of expertise is outreach to the community. So how do we outreach to the community to make sure research gets there, to make sure the community has the clinical care that they need, and to make sure that we can partner with the community in moving forward in terms of improving the health of our community? So I'm happy to be here this morning to talk about the vaccine or COVID, whatever questions you may have.
Well, let's talk about COVID. What have been some of the hurdles? What are the hurdles as we sit here today in terms of the outreach efforts with our community, with the Black community in particular?
So I think the first challenge or barrier is that there is low trust in the government and science. And that is actually across all races, not just the Black community, especially prominent in our community. And I think that's one of the challenges that we're going to have to try to get over in the next few months as the vaccines come out. And we can talk about that a little later, but that is definitely one of our biggest challenges. The other challenge is that we haven't made necessarily, our big bundle that we need people to do, which is physical distance, wear their mask, and do their hand hygiene. We haven't made that super easy for everyone. And so we need to work on ways of making that easier. Business owners now have signs that they can use in their businesses that they can download from the state of Ohio to put up. That's helpful. What other things can we do as a community to help our own? Some people have distributed masks, distributed hand sanitizer. That's helpful. Especially when this isn't in your everyday, daily routine yet. This is new. This has been newer. And so how do we continue to support our community in that way?
And Regina, for my next question, I think you probably have some experience on this. In terms of reaching people, in terms of advertising, we're good at that. Mm-hmm. But with COVID, this is like pertinent health related information. Have you noticed, is there a digital divide? And what I mean are the ways that we thought that we were reaching people not really reaching people?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, we've learned so much. And it's one of the things that I said when I was developing the broadcast for tonight. And Dawn and Lori, you can jump in and co-sign this if you'd like, is that this is extraordinary times, which means we have to have extraordinary measures. And people can tend to lay back on what they feel works and has worked in the past. Doesn't anymore. And through research and studies and surveys, we have found that when people are deciding on their health care, how they're going to take care of their lives, they listen to people that they know and they trust, right? So they're going to listen to their family members. They're going to listen to the nurses. This is the truth. They will listen to the nurses before they listen to the doctors, right? And they're going to listen to the ministers, and even they'll listen to people at work. That's their community. And so we need to meet people where they live, work, and play, and not only where they get their information from and who the messenger is, but deciding on the correct language in which we're going to talk to people, because too often we're talking at people instead of having a conversation and meeting them where they are and filling in those gaps with real information. And then with Don Day with Test and Protect, we've had to do a lot of this with just getting our community to do testing, COVID testing. So yes, you are right. There is a divide, Nathan.
Definitely.
So that's interesting. You said how we talk to them. Just talk about that real quick, and then I want to bring Don on, and we have Bob as well, who's backstage. I want to bring him on as well. But just real quick. So what's the difference when you say how? What does that mean exactly?
Well, one, we don't want to hear talking points. And let me tell you something, this is very interesting. This is African-American community. We have our Latinx community. And then we have our folks who are in the rural and in some suburban areas. They don't want to be talked down to. They don't want to don't scare me, right? Mm-hmm. Just tell me the facts. Make it clear, make it plain, and tell me why I should. If they feel in their mind that they are operating within their best interest, we must tell them and give them the tools and showing them why it is in their best interest. And more importantly, telling our communities, you actually have agency and power to take care of your health and to take care of your community. Can't wait for anybody else to do that. So it's really specific language that we use to get people to realize how they need to protect themselves. Because I'm gonna tell you something, the next 3 months, it's the hardest part. Don't fool yourself. It's winter. It's the hardest part. So we have to actually double down on our own best interest.
So as I said, we have Dr. Bob, is it Frenick? Is that his last name?
Frank,
Dr. Bob Frank. Dr. Frank, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for your time this morning. Well, no, I know you have the shortest time as everyone, so I want to go to you and make sure we get you in and really get the benefit of your expertise this morning. Can you just talk just a little bit about yourself and your particular field of expertise, and then we'll get into some questions.
Sure. So my name is Bob Frank. I'm a pediatric infectious disease physician at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and I'm, excuse me, the director of our Center for Vaccine Research here at Cincinnati Children's.
Okay.
And so that I've been doing the COVID vaccine trials with Pfizer and now AstraZeneca since about March.
Okay, so we definitely want to talk to you, most definitely. So let me start with the really basics here, Dr. Frank. Let's start with the real basics. The coronavirus, what is it? Why is it so deadly? Why is it a problem? How do you get it? And secondarily, have we learned anything since the beginning of the pandemic to this point that's different than what we thought beforehand?
So these are all great questions, and I will try to answer with the other group, the suggestions they're giving as far as that. So we've learned tremendous amounts about this virus, and that it's really a year ago we didn't even know it existed. So this has been a phenomenal learning curve. It's passed almost always by the respiratory and droplets. So if I have my hands, they spread from person to person by touching, also by coughing or sneezing. And that's why we're having the distance of about 6 feet, because even if somebody were to cough or sneeze in your direction and they're 6 feet away, the likelihood that you would get infected or exposed is very low.
So I saw something on CNN. Again, I want to dispel any rumors that said that while the initial recommendation should be 6 feet, but that the vapors, they're expelled while breathing or whatever, actually travel further from that. So is it 6 feet? Is it 12 feet? What's the safe distance that I should be between myself and someone who I don't know if they're infected or not?
So realistically, it's 3 to 6 feet. There were some people are doing mathematical modeling in Harvard, and they showed, well, it's theoretically possible that they could go multiple feet, but that's more theory. Really, the 6 feet. There was some studies they've showed is that if we put on masks, if we use good hand washing, if we have on the eye protection net, we can protect ourselves and decrease our risk by over 85%. But the problem is that people don't want to continue to do that. And that's why we're seeing an uptick in cases, because people are tired. And I was in the Navy for 27 years, so I kind of look at this as battle fatigue. We've been fighting this virus for a year now, and we're tired. We want to be able to go give somebody a hug. I want to be able to go have a gathering. We want to be able to go to church. We want to be able to go to the movies. We want to be able to go to the restaurants. And people keep saying no, no, no. And people are tired.
Right, I definitely get it. And they're tired of the masks. So to the masks, if I'm wearing a mask, is there a difference in the type of mask in terms of the level of protection? I see people with what appear to be the surgical masks. Is there a difference between that and a scarf? People have the vanity mask with the branding of their logo or their business. Is there a difference in terms of the level of protection it gives me?
Not really. The biggest thing is that I think the mask, in some respects, is a visual reminder that we stay a little bit apart from each other. But the biggest thing then with the mask is that if somebody accidentally coughs or sneezes, it's going to catch a lot of the material. So, people have been trying to go buy these expensive masks and like that. I'm not sure that's really helpful. The biggest thing is to have some sort of a covering. And like I said, I think that's a reminder to keep us a little bit apart from each other.
Well, here's our first question from the audience. Sister Iris wants to know about the prolonged symptoms in children who have been infected with the virus.
So I think what maybe it's asking about is a rare condition called MISC or MISC. It's only been seen in a few percentage of children that are hospitalized with the coronavirus, but it does happen. But almost everybody from that's recovered. I think, if you look at it, though, is that in children, we've had over 1.5 million children in the United States that have been infected so far, and almost 150 have died from coronavirus. And to put that in perspective, that's about double what we usually see from the flu in a given year. And then we're having thousands of kids hospitalized. So that kids are getting infected. And that's actually why we're testing the vaccine down into 12-year-olds now, and that there's plans to go down into 5-year-olds in the not too distant future, and maybe even younger. Because we need to, one of the things is I've been doing pediatrics for about 40 years now. is that if this virus is not passed from a child to an adult, it's the first one that I've seen that doesn't happen. Kids are more than happy to bring it home to us, that they are hugging on us and everything like that, and then they give it to us. And so that's the other reason I think it's going to be really important to have vaccines for children too.
Which demographic is the most susceptible to either getting the virus and or getting the virus and having serious symptoms?
So there's no real racial or genetic predisposition that we know of at this point for increased risk. What increases your risk is close contact and inability to really be at home. So that if you're at a job that requires you to be at work, so if you're working in a industry where you're having to go to work, you're going to be close to people, and that's going to increase your risk. That if you have a higher density at home where you really have a harder time separating, that's going to increase your risk. And so that where we're seeing an increased number in the people of color, it's not because there's a genetic predisposition. It's really more of the risk factors of the jobs and that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. What about people?
I think the other thing.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dawn.
Oh, I was just going to add one more quick thing to that. I think it's the underlying health conditions as well.
Right.
That people of color tend to have those underlying health conditions, which make the infection worse. And so I just wanted to add that to what Dr. Frank was saying.
You almost, you know what, you stole my thunder. That's exactly where I was going with
Oh,
it.
sorry.
Most definitely. Those pre-existing conditions are the underlying,
Yes.
either pre-existing conditions and underlying health issues. Are there any that are more of a risk factor for COVID than others?
So the older we get, the more of a risk we have. Having hypertension increases the risk, and then underlying heart and lung disease are risk factors.
Oh boy, I'm a cardiac patient, just so y'all know. I had a cardiac event early this year, so this COVID thing has really got me very, very sensitive about, what I do. And in particular, I read that. And I've read that there are people that get COVID and there have been some symptoms in their heart, like a thickening of the heart muscle. Is that true, doctor?
So some people are having some heart disease with it. Is that what it is that the receptors where the virus attaches, those are receptors that we do have a lot of those in the heart. So some people have had problems because of that.
Can you get COVID more than once? So in my house, my wife and I swear we had COVID back in January because something came to the house. My son was really sick at his daycare. He's a kindergartner, so he was in daycare at that point. He just got sick. We took him to the doctor. They didn't know what it was. I got a little bit ill. Is that likely that it swept through American households and we just didn't know what it was early in the year?
So I think one of the things that you're mentioning really is that many of the viruses that we see have very similar symptoms. So it's hard to know if you've had coronavirus or COVID or if you've had the flu or whatever. And that's really another pitch right now, is that it's coming into flu season. And so getting the flu vaccine is really, really important right now too. People have looked at trying to differentiate the symptoms and what ones could be more likely associated with COVID. The biggest ones that we've seen so far that really seems to separate is the losses of taste and smell. We still don't understand really why that happens, but if people come into you and say, I just feel a little bit sick, but I can't taste anything or smell anything, those are things where your ears should perk up and say, uh-oh, I think they may have COVID.
And can I get COVID? Can a person get COVID more than once?
So it's, we don't think so, but one of the things is that there's a spectrum of illness. And that so what we are finding is some people that are getting what's called people are calling it asymptomatic, so that you did a nasal swab and you found the virus in your nose, but you weren't coughing, you weren't having a runny nose, you weren't sick. That may not be enough to make your body make antibodies, so that those people may get infected again. But it looks like if you get disease enough to maybe like be hospitalized or you're getting fevers like that, that should be giving you protection.
Okay, so I didn't know that. So there's degrees to which you can even get COVID. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And so that's what you look at as far as that. If you look at adults, so if you say over 75, about 10% or maybe a little bit higher of 75-year-olds that get COVID end up being in the hospital. Whereas in a child that gets COVID, it's like 1 in 1,000 ends up being hospitalized. So the risk of hospitalization varies dramatically by age.
Okay, so let's switch gears here. Let's talk about the vaccine. right? That's the vaccine. Because today, I know there's going to be a big vote today. I think
Right.
we could see authorization, fast tracking it, and making it available within this month for the public here in the United States. Tell us about the vaccine. What is a vaccine? And is the vaccine that everyone's been talking about from Pfizer, is it different? How does it work exactly?
So a vaccine is trying to make your body think that it's been exposed to the bacteria or virus we're trying to protect you against, so that we're trying to keep you from really getting sick. So there's two ways really that you can get immunity. One is that you get exposed to the virus or bacteria and get sick, and then you have your natural immune response, or we give you a vaccine and give you immunity without you having to get the infection. And so that the vaccines we have right now, it's new technology. However, the things that people have to understand is we have not been cutting corners. We've been looking at the safety. We've been following things very closely, and that we've now had about 40,000 people from the Pfizer trial that have been enrolled, and that we've been really seeing a pretty good safety profile, as far as that some people are having some muscle aches, they're having some a fever maybe for a day or so. The biggest thing we're seeing is fatigue, where people just feel really tired for a day or two, and sometimes headaches. Now, so it's not zero as far as the side effects, but if you balance that against, people getting the natural infection, the risks of the natural infection far outweigh the risks of the vaccine. And one of the things that people talk about is, let's just let everybody get infected and we'll get over it and we'll have immunity and everything will be fine. Well, let's think about that though. There's almost 400 million people in the United States. Right now, overall, of the people that get infected, about 3 in 100 die. So that if you have 400 million people and 3 in 100 die, that's 12 million people in the United States that would die if we let everybody just get COVID. So I don't think that's a really great idea. And that's why we've been really pushing the vaccine so hard, because we want to get rid of this. We want people to get back to normal. We want people to have their daily lives back.
Someone wants to know, 2 people had allergic reactions to the vaccine. Do they have any underlying conditions that caused it?
So one of the things that we do whenever we do a vaccine trial is that we have ongoing safety monitoring, and so we ask people to report anything has happened. These look like, at this point, these are 2 rare events. It doesn't really look like it's associated. We've had 40,000 people, as I mentioned, in the trials in the United States so far. We have not had that reported at all. We'll keep a watch on that, but right now it just looks like it was more of a coincidence than anything, but we're going to keep a close watch on it.
If I take the vaccine, Dr. Frank, what can I expect? Like, what kind of side effects? Am I going to get a high temperature? Is it going to feel like I have the flu or already have coronavirus? How long will those symptoms last for? And is it 1 shot or 2 shots?
So it's 2 shots. The different vaccines are different times. Is that but somewhere between 3 and 4 weeks between the shots. Is that a lot of people are not having any side effects, and the ones that they're having, typically people will be calling mild. And how we rate mild means that you can go to work, it's not stopping, anything like that. Moderate means that you just don't feel really that good, and severe saying I need to stay home today. Less than 2% of all the people that received the vaccine had any side effect that they called severe, and again, that was with the headache and fatigue. There have been unusual things if people are having the fever and that, but most of these are lasting a day or two. If people are having the symptoms, we've seen it start about 24 hours after the vaccine, and typically it's done in 1 or 2 days, and oftentimes less than that.
One question, I think this speaks to some of the fear that people have, is that it appears that this vaccine was fast-tracked. It just moves so fast. Why should people have confidence that this is not going to hurt them, Dr. Frank? And they're looking at it and they're thinking, wow, this moved really, really fast.
And so these are great questions, and they're very important questions. Is that one of the things that helped is that we had technology that allowed us to go more quickly. And so we were able to identify the virus more quickly. We were able to identify the target as far as that what we needed to do to develop the vaccine. And then the kind of technology we have now allowed us to produce a lot of vaccine quickly. But we're not cutting corners on things. We're measuring safety very closely. We're watching very closely. Is that one of the things is that people may say, well, there was a pause with 2 of the vaccines. I would look at that and say that pause actually shows that we're paying attention to safety, that we're concerned about safety, and we paused the vaccine trials until we could review it and felt that it was safe to start again.
Drop is on YouTube. He wants to know, will testing continue when a vaccine is available?
Testing of the clinical trials, yes, they'll continue to go on, and that because what we're looking right now is we'll have more than likely have the Pfizer be approved for this what's called emergency use authorization today. I think Moderna will be in about a week. AstraZeneca trial is just about completed. The Janssen trial is just about completed, but those 2 will want to be finished. The ones that have already finished enrollment, we're still going to continue to follow people, and there's a number of other vaccines that are available that likely will be tested soon.
And how will the tests be rolled out? So will they be available to the general public this year? How early next year?
So the vaccine at first, there's going to be a bit of a short supply. So I think initially we're going to have more demand than we're going to have supply. But the good thing is that the vaccines are able to be ramped up pretty quickly. So both Pfizer and Moderna said by this time next year that they can provide about 1 billion doses each. AstraZeneca said about the same. So that initially, there's a committee in the CDC, Center for Disease Control, called the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. And because of this concern of having a shortage at first, having a priority. So the initial priority will be for frontline healthcare workers, and then people that are living in convalescent or long-term care facilities, because we know people that are in long-term care facilities have a much higher rate of significant illness and death from COVID, so we really want to protect them. I think what we'll see within 2 or 3 months that we'll have a lot more vaccine available, and my thought is that we likely will have a vaccine that will be generally available for even down to 12 before the next school year starts, and we may even have it for a little bit younger than that. I think by spring or maybe early summer, everybody that wants vaccine, there should be plenty of access to everything. So there's going to be a little bit of a lag, but but there is light at the end of the tunnel that's very positive.
Simone is on YouTube. She wants to know, so would the vaccine be too much for someone who has heart problems?
No. That so when we're doing a clinical trial, we do exclude some people because we just want to make sure that the vaccine is safe in that. And then when we get that data, we'll be opening it up to everybody. That none of these vaccines are the coronavirus, so none of them will give you coronavirus. And that's one of the things people have to understand too, is that it won't give you COVID. And that you may feel sick for a day or two from these the reactogenicity, but that goes away. And like I said, the likelihood that you're going to have even a day at home or something has been really, really low.
Yeah, Simone, she has another question. Again, I think it's very important because it gets to the heart of people's fear. She wants to know, why does this vaccine use, is it mRNA or mRNA technology?
Yeah, it's so mRNA. It's
mRNA.
So mRNA
changes your DNA.
Right. So that's not correct. It is correct. It's using mRNA. It does not change your DNA. So trying to explain this quickly, I'll try my best, so we have in our body genes, and the genes are what tell us what hair color we're going to have, what skin color we're going to have, how tall we're going to be. And so that the genes are on our mRNA, and that the mRNA then tells the body to make a protein. And that and so that what we're using for this is the mRNA is the gene against the spike protein in the COVID. And that spike protein is the protein the virus uses to hook onto our cells. So if we can block that spike protein, the thought is that we will block the virus from being able to attach to our cells, and so it won't be able to make us sick. So that, but the mRNA does not last long in our cells. We have normally, so mRNA is what we use every day when we're making a new cell. That's what we use. and we also have these compounds that cut up the mRNA so it doesn't last long, because just like normally, we don't want mRNA in our system for a long time. It does its job, makes its protein, and then we cut it up normally. And that's what's going to happen with the mRNA from the vaccine too. It won't last more than about a day or two. And so during that time, it'll make the protein for the spike protein. Our body then will be stimulating immune response, and that's what should keep us from getting infected. The response that our body makes to the vaccine is really the same kind of the response our body would make if we were infected. And so again, like we say with a vaccine, we're doing is trying to, if you will, trick our body into saying you've been exposed, you've been infected with the real thing, go do your work, okay? But you're not getting sick.
Well, Dr. Frank, I mean, when you have to go, let me know. Until then, I'm going to keep firing questions.
All right, I'll go for a while.
Okay. C.L. Taylor writes, the virus mutates. How long is the immune response? Question mark. How often will we need to be vaccinated?
You have a very good audience here. They're not asking me easy questions. So that the answer to that is we're not sure. But the really exciting thing is that with this new technology we have, we're stimulating not only our B cells to make immunoglobulins, we're also stimulating our T cells, which are really the mastermind of the immune system that gives us a longer immune response. And it looks like the vaccine has an opportunity to last for maybe 3 to 5 years, which would be really tremendous.
Brian writes, I feel, and as in you, Dr. Frank, he is not admitting studies about the virus spread tendencies and vaccine are not yet conclusive. He also takes exception to you saying that there's no difference between masks.
Well, we can have our disagreements on that. That's fine. And I think one of the things that's really important in the United States is that we're able to discuss things and have disagreements and being able to listen to each other. And so I think that's really important. What we can see is that if you use an N95 mask, so that's the thing as far as that they're using in the hospital, is if somebody has tuberculosis, so that it's not going to hurt you to do that. But if you look at the effectiveness of just, even as you were mentioning before, a face covering, it looks like it's about 85% effective at preventing COVID. So if you do more, okay. But if I had my choice, if I said, okay, everybody in the community at least wears something on their face versus no one wears anything, or that they wear an N95 occasionally, I would take everybody in the community having something on their face.
Ballhead writes, will it have an effect on someone who got his allergies to medicines such as penicillin? And by it, I think he's talking about the vaccine.
No. And so one of the things too is that understand as far as the mRNA vaccine is not grown in any cells. So there have been some people have been concerned as far as the religious is that the cells came from that the vaccine is grown in fetal cells. That's not true. That there's no cells that are used to grow the mRNA, develop the mRNA, and that there should not be any problem with a penicillin allergy in this. There's really no relationship between penicillin and the mRNA.
And I think you kind of covered this, but I want to say it again. So are children, would you recommend that children get the vaccine as well? Is there any distinction between age groups?
So what we're going to do, we go a stepwise de-escalation in age. So we've gone down to 12 now, and the data in the 12-year-olds, the safety profile looks very good. And that we're going to then going down to looking to try to go down to 5-year-olds and even lower. I think that we'll probably go down to toddler age and maybe go down younger. But I think it's going to be important to protect all children. Part of the reason, Nate, as far as understand why, is because kids, as we mentioned before, are a lot of times not getting that sick. And so they may not know they have COVID. You know, if you think about it, if you have your kindergartner at home and they have a little bit, he has a little bit of a runny nose or cough, are you going to bring him to the doctor?
Probably not.
Exactly. And because of that, you can't tell that, and that's the problem. You can't tell that that's COVID versus anything else. So if you don't know if it's COVID, no one else does either. And so then they're going to be seeing your child and they're going to come up and you have this cute kid. Of course you want to give him a hug and you haven't seen him for a while. How you doing? And now, unfortunately, he's just passed it to somebody else. And so that's one of the reasons too of the importance of immunizing children along with adults. That, you know, this is not a disease. The virus doesn't care if you're Republican or Democrat. The virus doesn't care if you're black or white or Asian or Hispanic. The virus doesn't care if you're man or woman. The virus doesn't care if you're a baby or if you're 90 years old. It's very equal opportunity infector, and so that this is a thing that's affecting every one of us, and that and this is why my goal is to try to find something that's going to protect every one of us. And this virus has upended society, and it's trying to, with the vaccine, of trying to get us back to where we can say 2020 was a horrible nightmare, but it's over.
Janetta is on Facebook. She wants to know, is there data being collected to monitor long-term effects of the vaccine for adults and children?
Janetta, that's a great question. Yes, we're doing that for the clinical trials that we're following people for 2 years, that we're asking them to give us information once a week of how they're doing, and we see if they give us any symptoms that would be suggestive of having COVID, that we're calling them and seeing if they need to come in for us to do testing on them. Also, as a part of a normal process after a vaccine is licensed, the manufacturers have to report any sort of side effects forever, you know, and that's one of the things. If you look at what's called a package insert, the information that goes with a vaccine or drug, there's all these list of things that says have been happened. Because if you get a vaccine and then you have asthma, is that we have to report that. It doesn't mean that the vaccine caused it, but we can't say it didn't, and so that we over-report is what's happening. And so that's why sometimes if you I was listening to a comedy routine that Cat Williams was doing one time, and he was talking about taking this drug and it sounds good, but then he was making fun of all the side effects that go along with the drug. And so but that's because that's what we have to do, is we have to over-report because we don't want to miss anything.
Bill Daly is on YouTube and wants to know, if someone already has COVID or has had COVID, do they need to take the vaccine?
So my advice would be, yes, everybody go ahead and get the vaccine. What we're seeing in some of the clinical trials is that people that had COVID, we know they've had COVID, and we gave them a dose of a couple different vaccines that have been tested, they still got a nice increase, a nice bump in their antibody response. So we think that we're giving them a boost in their immunity. We don't see anything that would indicate that it's going to be dangerous for somebody to get a vaccine if they've had COVID. Realistically, you're probably immune, but I don't know for sure, because one of the things, we don't know exactly how high an antibody level is enough to say that you're immune. And so that's why I would say probably go ahead and get a vaccine, because I don't think it's going to hurt you.
Tanika wants to know, she's on Facebook. My question for the doctor is, how is it possible for a child to test positive and their parent tests negative and they live in the same home?
These are questions that are, again, an excellent question that we're trying to figure out the information. Is that we have one of our epidemiologists, people that study outbreaks here, that she's doing a study of following moms and babies and their family members for 3 years to try to get that information and try to understand a little bit more about that. There's still a lot of vagaries. Part of it can be is the tests aren't 100%, so that if somebody, it's possible they didn't get quite as much sample, and then you got a negative result from that, or somebody else had a higher viral load and they got a positive. So it's not 100% attack. If you look at the studies that done so far, out of family members, if somebody is known to have COVID and goes into the home, about 50% of people in the home are infected. We don't know why the other 50% aren't. Maybe they're stayed a little further apart. Maybe they have a little different hygiene, hand washing, something like that. So having a child get infected and the parents, it's usually the other way around, I think, is the parents get infected, maybe not the child, but about half the people in the house don't get infected, and we don't really understand why.
That's interesting. Tiffany's on Facebook. She wants to know, and maybe this is an ethics question, but she wants to know, so is it fair to give us a vaccine now when there's not 2 years of data from the trial takers?
So what I would answer with that is that if we look at what we're seeing right now, is we've had 15 million cases of COVID in the United States. We're, I think, getting really close to 300,000 deaths. That's in a year. If you wait 2 more years and we just are at the same number, we're going to be close to 1 million deaths. And so the data that we have right now is suggestive that the vaccine, as I said, may make you feel a little bit, as I think Dr. Crosby said, rough for a day or so, but that after that have gotten over and been fine. And weighing as far as that having millions of people die versus a day or two of not feeling good, I'm ready. I can tell you, as far as from a personal standpoint, my wife and I have 2 children, that they're saying, when is that vaccine ready, Dad? I want to go get vaccinated. And, you know, from the being in the trial, I'm not allowed to get a vaccine as part of the regulations. I'm not allowed to get the vaccine because I'm running the trial. Otherwise, I would have enrolled myself in the study and been happy to go get vaccinated. So I have to wait until that I'm done testing the vaccines, and then I'm allowed to get vaccinated. But I have no concern about vaccinating my family. My mother is 88 and saying, Mom, you know, that the vaccine is going to be available soon. Please make sure your doctor is giving you a shot.
Iris is on Facebook. She wants to know, has the disruption of children getting other vaccinations caused any problem?
Yes, it has, Iris, and that's what I would call an unintended consequence of COVID. What we're seeing is a significant decrease in routine childhood visits, not only vaccine, but going in for just childcare visits. So to talk about growth and development and nutrition, and that so all these things have significantly disrupted our normal care. So we've had a drop in routine vaccine coverage, and what that's going to result in is that we will have an outbreak of other diseases, not if, it's when. So we'll have outbreaks of measles, we'll have outbreaks of pertussis, we'll have outbreaks of flu or things like that, because people have understandably been nervous about going to places where you're congregating. But I can't emphasize enough about how important it is to get your child all the routine vaccinations. And then when we have a COVID-19 vaccine for kids, to get them vaccinated against that too.
And I can't stress enough just how much I really appreciate everybody's time here. I know for the last 30 minutes or so, we've been focused on Dr. Frank, but I definitely want to make sure that we allow Dawn Day with the Health Collaborative to introduce herself and come into the conversation. And thank you so much for waiting patiently, Dawn. I know you're a very busy woman, and I really appreciate you being here. Just want you to talk about yourself, the work you're doing, and then your response to any of the questions and or answers you've heard to this point.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I am Dawn Day with the Health Collaborative. I'm Director of Regional Epic Services there, but in the capacity of Test and Protect, which is the name of our testing project with Hamilton County. I am a project manager for communications, which is where I met the lovely Regina. So getting tested is very important. As you all know, you've heard us say it over and over, but as Regina was referencing earlier in the conversation, we had to really think about our messaging, because our people, Black and brown people, don't like to be told what to do without you giving us some meat. You got to give us reasons why we need to go do this. So we had to really think about that and not just talk at people and explain why you need to go get tested. So for our communities, it's important that you go get tested and find out if you're positive or not, so that you can protect the people that you care about as well as the people in your community. So the testing is scheduled to run through December 30th. We do not know yet if it will extend any longer than that. Right now we are running through December 30th, but there are testing locations on our website, which is healthcollab.org/test and protect. Please go get tested. Find out if you have it, take care of yourself, wash your hands, wear your mask, social distance, do those things that everybody is saying that we need to do to protect ourselves and our community.
Hey, Don, I really appreciate it. Again, what's the time frame for the testing? And again, the website, once again, please. Okay,
website is www.healthcollab.org/test and protect. And you want to check that daily, because the sites are uploaded and refreshed on a daily basis. And we have sites all across the community, all across Hamilton County, I should be more specific. And you can check those daily. Please make sure, especially with this weather, that you're checking that before you head out to a site, because there are cancellations sometimes due to weather. So just make sure that you're checking the site on a daily basis.
And these sites will be up for testing through next
December
year?
30th.
December
30th right now, correct. We do not know if it will extend. So December 30th is the current stop date for the Test and Protect project.
Well, who do we have to call?
Stay tuned.
Is it a funding issue? Who do we have to call or the email to make sure we have this? It sounds vital to have this
right.
in 2021.
Right. Well, like that's why I said stay tuned, because we don't know yet. We're just waiting on Congress to discuss it, and we will update things. If it is extended, trust me, you will hear from us. You'll see Regina telling us where to blast it, and we'll probably be doing more interviews. But yeah, as of right now, December 30th is the stop date for Test and Protect. Now, there are other testing sites that are available, and we'll make sure that we don't just leave people hanging. We want to make sure that we transition and let people know there are other sites you can go and get tested. It's important that we clarify that our sites are no cost. So we want to make that clear. The only sites I'm speaking of are the Test and Protect sites. There are other locations within the city you can go get tested.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. I can see it on your face. I can see it coming.
Right there. Because that's the barrier for some people. Does it matter if I have insurance or not?
No. Just come get tested. Check the website for the locations. Come on down and get tested. Don't worry about bringing any money with you. You need to bring your ID so that they can just get your information in the system and get you pre-registered. It takes longer to get registered than it does to have your test done. So I know there's a lot. I'm not even looking at the chat right now because the chat is off the hook. Okay, the chat is off the hook. So I'm just going to say there are a lot of opinions about whether the test is uncomfortable or what. I mean, it's not a fun thing to go and do. I will be honest with you, but it takes a few seconds, a little longer than a few seconds, but it doesn't take long. Go and find out if you're positive or not. It's worth your time and trouble.
Can we give that website one more time, and then I'm going to try to put it up on the screen just so people, because people are in and out of the stream. So many different things, they might miss it.
Yeah, so healthcollab.org/test and protect.
Okay, healthcollab.org/test and protect. I can remember.
So if you forget that, if you go to the Health Collaborative's website, you can find your way to the testing sites. It's marked very easily and clearly.
So, Regina, back to that messaging conversation. Again, in terms of demographic, is there any different with our community, with the Black community? And again, I think this is valuable as a media person to make sure that I am communicating effectively and trying to reach my audience. Is it a personality thing? Is it certain words? Is it a certain approach?
Well, I'll tell you.
What's the best practices that you found?
Well, Dr. Crosby, I want you to jump in on this too, because you've had to do a lot of this work and getting information out about people coming in, African Americans, to participate in the vaccine trials. Love to hear how you guys had an approach to that. But what we have found is that, for one, is that Black folks don't think alike. We don't do things alike. We're very different in the way that we navigate our stations in life and how we approach things. So a different message and how people will connect to it is going to depend on who that person is. But generally speaking, one of the things that keeps coming up in this chat is people talking about Henrietta and Tuskegee Airmen. It doesn't matter if you are in my age, if you're 30, if you're 70, this information and this trauma has been passed down in our bones. Okay. And so we know it, we feel it. This is part of our distrust. And so what we have to do is have the real talk, the real voices. Ira said it earlier, hit it head on, talk about those myths, but then give the real information. It was an African-American woman who's a scientist who helped develop this vaccine, right? And so Dr. Crosby, I want you to talk to me about that. So I will say this. We can't scare people. We have to be real and real talk. We have to use language that gives ourselves agency and power to take care of ourselves. We're a digital society. Everything that we get is in the palm of our hand. You can do a billboard, you could do some flyers, you could do TV ads, but in the end, all of that better translate into something that comes into my hand, and I can click on this and go to my news feed and find the information very quickly, right? And so, Dr. Crosby, you want to add to that?
Sure. So thank you for bringing up those excellent points. And I think the first thing we have to remember is we have to, as Regina talked about, we have to say, yes, this did happen. There were many abuses in studies against Black and brown people. We have to say that is true, that happened. And so because of that, we have to do research differently. Thank goodness we have to do research differently, and we have to do it in a safe way. And so when I'm talking to people about what's happening, what I've discovered is the research process is this like black box. Like nobody knows what happens or how these studies are developed. We have done a terrible job in the scientific community of educating people and telling people how it's done. People are smart. They have great questions, and we need to provide them with the answers to their questions. Each one of your listeners is being skeptical about something different, and that's great. That's what we want. We want people talking about it. We want people asking questions so that we can provide the answers or the best answers that we can give. So the other thing I just want to talk about, and is kind of all in the chat, is, I don't know if it's the elephant in the room, elephant in the chat, but basically there's been a lot of reasons why we should distrust the medical system, right? As Black and brown people. And it's kind of hard to think about, why develop this vaccine and tell me to go do this? Why do you care about my life now when it seems like you don't care about my life on an everyday basis, right? So we have to recognize that that is part of what we're dealing with, and we have to approach people there where they are and say, yes, you're right. I understand why you have skepticism. You should. And here's how we're going to get all your questions answered. Here's how we're going to get you the information so that you feel comfortable. So for example, one of the things I learned, and I've been doing research on this, trying to figure this all out, this warp speed thing. Well, Pfizer said, we don't want to be a part of that. We don't want anything to do with that, because we don't think that that's a good way to talk about developing a vaccine, and we're not cutting corners. And so they have disassociated themselves with that whole thing, which gives me a little more confidence in their company, because that has been an issue. I think the other thing that I found out is that the National Medical Association, which is, if you all don't know, it's a national group of Black physicians. They are looking over all the data from Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca themselves, looking independently at the data to make sure that the vaccine was done well, that it really is safe and effective. And so that gives me a little more confidence when I hear things like that are happening.
Yeah, that's interesting, because the whole Pfizer was so right about that. Warp speed. Whoa, that's not the best way to sell this.
That's horrible language.
Horrible language. And it's for Black folks. What I hear is we don't want to be guinea pigs. Right. We don't want to be the guinea pigs of the pandemic.
Correct. And we should not be. And these studies are not being done in that way, but there's no visibility to that. So for example, I asked poor Dr. Frank, I've asked him a million questions. I think you asked him a lot of questions. I've asked him a million questions. And I'm like, what are you doing different in this study that is different from the swine flu study or any other vaccine study, right? And he said, here's the difference. We have to give data more often. We have to turn it around faster. So normally we send samples once a week. Now we have to send samples 3 times a week. Normally we get a query back on something we gave, and we have to answer it at the end of the study or at a certain period of time. Now we have to do it every day. So we have to hire more staff. We've had to, to accommodate these things. And they've given us more money to hire more staff to accommodate these things because they want it done right. So the speed isn't that the process is any different. It's just that the data is being reviewed in more real time than it typically is. But I love the call, you have great listeners, great followers, because they're asking questions about the 2-year data. They should be asking that, and we should be continuing to watch things and continuing to keep our eye on what's happening.
And can I just tell you, thank you, Dr. Crosby, first of all, and I'm just in awe of you. I want to say to your listeners that the reason I could not look at the chat is because I was caught up trying to pay attention to their questions. And I knew that when you asked me a question, I would be focused on what they were asking and wanting to answer them as opposed to listening to the question you asked me. So no shade to the chat. It is they are amazing. They are asking really good questions, and you can tell that they're very knowledgeable. So I'm just in awe.
Oh yeah, most def. I say all
Yeah.
the time, my listeners are not just voters; they're influencers. Very smart, intelligent people here in the city of Cincinnati. I've
Yes.
learned that
Yes.
in some cases the hard way. Trust me. But hey, Lori, I want to ask a question about the psychological effects of all of this. So, what are you seeing psychologically? Like the whole being shut in. You know, if you're an introvert, it might be different for you. If you're a social butterfly or have a lot of social tendencies, it's going to hit a little differently. What are you seeing, and any recommendations on how to deal with it?
So unfortunately, we are seeing an increase in mental health symptoms across the board. People are stressed. We have what we call moral fatigue. And moral fatigue means that it's like every decision you make is a moral one, right? Like this decision of me going to this store could mean I get COVID or not, life or death. And so it feels like that, the weight of it. And having to make those decisions over and over and over again, over time, it wears you out. It stresses you out. You can't get those hugs. You can't, a lot of the coping mechanisms that you used to use are gone and removed. And so I think what we haven't focused on enough is getting people incited and getting them to start new coping mechanisms that they can do virtually. You know, so even if you've never tried some type of virtual exercise, I mean, everything is virtual now. You can figure out what it is. You haven't had a hobby before. Here's a time to learn or try something because your usual coping mechanisms are not there. The other one that's really important that's not as out there as much is mindfulness. So what we're finding is that being on Zoom, being on these virtual meetings, and it really takes a lot out of the brain and it takes a lot out of you. And so you need to do things that give your mind some rest. And that's what mindfulness is about. It's about having your mind rest. And when your mind rests, you can rebound. You have more energy and more resources to approach the next thing. So mindfulness is a really important thing, but it can be done in a lot of different ways. Some people go off to another, space when they listen to music, a certain type of music. Do that if you don't want to do a traditional mindfulness. So there's lots of ways to practice that and build it into your everyday life. But we're not encouraging people to do that, as if people are just stressed out and they're burned out, and the isolation is getting to them. So, each one of us can do something to reach out to another person, check on them, send them a text. Even if you haven't talked to them in 6 months, send them a text and just check on them. That really does make a difference.
That seems so much more difficult today with these little devices in front of us, right? Because it's hard to be mindful or to turn your mind off when you've already got this screen in front of you, right? You're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're taking emails, you're taking texts. It's just you're on Hulu, you're on Netflix, you got so many choices. That seems very, very difficult to do for people that already didn't have that in them. Any idea on what the long-term effects might be of COVID? Like after we beat we beat COVID-19, right? Long-term psychologically, health-wise, what do you see?
So if we look at previous epidemics like Ebola or other epidemics, the data suggests that there will be some trauma after this. We're all kind of traumatized if you think about it. And so there will be some long-lasting effects from that. There will be increased anxiety and depression. And so it's very important that we start advocating for more access and more mental health services at the end of this, right? Because things are not going to go back to exactly how they were. We must really advocate and be mindful of that and really start to prepare and make sure that, for example, mental health covered on our insurance plans. We need to make sure that telehealth is an option going forward. It started out as a short option, and then some insurance companies wanted to take it away. They've extended it, but just like, we have the test and protect till the end of the year, we don't know how long they're going to extend telehealth. So if people feel like they can advocate, write an email, write something to the insurance companies and to the government and let them know we need to keep this going because we're going to have issues afterwards. But we can heal, the community, I believe, we can heal each other, but we have to work together. We have to advocate. We have to be aware, and we have to reach out.
Well, our time is nearly up. I know everyone is very, very busy. I really appreciate your time. Just want to give everyone a last word. And Don, we'll start with you. It might even be something you reiterate to make sure you really press upon it to the audience. But again, I want to give you the last word as we wrap up here. And Don, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thanks again for having me on. Thank you to your amazing followers. The last thing I want to say is just take a moment and go get tested. Like I said, it's no cost. The website to find out, and I see that it is in the chat, healthcollab.org/test and protect. And then just make sure you're checking that on a regular basis because it is updated daily. Be well, take care of one another, and make it a great day.
And Lori, we'll go to you.
So I want to just encourage everyone to think about a person that they haven't talked to or a family that they haven't talked to in a while and to reach out because it does matter. And that will not only help their mental health, but it'll help yours as well. So I'm going to end with that. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, thank you for the information. I really appreciate it. And Regina, we'll just end with you this morning. Again, thank you for putting all this together. And again, also talk about what people can expect tonight and then beyond tonight. We can't hear you.
Sorry, the reason why we put the Tri-State Strong, Getting to Zero, multimedia broadcast that is on tonight from 7 to 8. It will be broadcast here with Nathan Ivey, Sin Digital Media. It will be streamed on the Inquirer VXU. It will be played at CET and WCPO and Local 12. And will also be streamed on all of the websites for Radio 1 stations here in Cincinnati, bringing you voices from people that you know and trust, giving you the real, how they've been feeling, how we all have been feeling in the last year, and what we need to do to get forward. When we're talking about getting to zero, we're talking about reducing the positivity cases. You can do that by what Ms. Dawn Day said. Get tested. Know your status. Protect the community. Protect everyone around you. Protect yourself. Do it like what Dr. Crosby and Dr. Frank said. Think about the vaccine. Keep asking questions. We're not scared of questions. We want questions, and we want to ask the questions and get the answers. Keep asking the questions and consider the vaccine. Wear your mask. That's a no-brainer. It works. Wash your hands and be a safe distance. Incorporate these things in your life like it's just new, healthy habits. No one is going to do this for us. We need to do it for ourselves, and we need to keep communicating and keep talking. I really encourage everyone to do that. But watch the show tonight. Watch it tonight and tell me what you think. Give me some feedback and go to the healthcollab.org/RC3 to get all the information about how you can live, work, and play through the stages of this pandemic.
Well, ladies, thank you so much. Regina, for everything. Perhaps we can stay in contact and have a future conversation.
First of all, I want to say, Nathan, you know I've always been your #1 fan, even back in the day, and you are still doing it, and you are necessary for our community. So bravo, and thank you. Thank you. Okay?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Have a great rest of your day.
All right. You too.
Yeah,
thanks, everybody.
All right. There it is. Hopefully you got something out of that. And wanted to try to maximize their time as much as possible. We only had Dr. Frank. Originally, he was like 15 minutes, but he stayed with us for a good 30 minutes or so. I think he had another call that he was doing, sharing as much information as possible. So shout out to Regina Carswell Russo, Dr. Crosby, Dawn Day for spending some time with us this morning, trying to answer some questions. And she's right. That's going to be tonight. Now, I'm going to do something different. We're going to do like a watch party. We're going to do a watch party, with the video tonight. And then, as I'm thinking about it, I think we're going to replay this as well, maybe before and afterward, just so people can see this, because I know how it is. Not everybody is live with us today in this moment. They may check us out later on this evening. Already people are saying, hey, I wish I had got on the stream earlier. Don't worry. Of course, this will be available as a podcast all day long. You can check out the audio and the video up on Facebook and on my YouTube page. But I think we'll do a watch party tonight, give you some commentary, give you a chance to actually interact in real time. I've already seen the video. We'll get a chance to play a little bit later. I think it's very necessary. And shout out to Regina for the work she's doing. She's still backstage, by the way, still listening. I see you, Regina. You more than you more than welcome to stay if you want to.
I want to listen. I'm in now. I'm in
absolutely.
now.
Absolutely. You might as well stay and ride then if that's what you want to do. You want to be backstage? That's cool. I know.
I gotta jump off in a minute, but I just can't get enough of this. I just think it's so important. I think it's great.
Yeah, Daryl writes, Nate, that was great and informative. Great. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. Information for you. As I said beforehand, and then the good folks on the panel, said the same thing. I completely understand people having hesitation, being fearful, downright, you're not going to do it. Cool. My job is just to give you as much information as possible, and you make the decision for yourself. To dispel the myths as I see them. And if there's like some misinformation out there, we want to get to the bottom of it as much as possible. And then you make the decision. I'm not trying to convince you to take a vaccine. I'm just trying to convince you to listen to the information, and then you make your own decision. That's it. It's I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to agree with that. Is that, we're smart, intelligent, brilliant people, right? And so ask those questions, dig into it, go to different sources, seek out that information. And it is our responsibility, the people who are close to it, to provide access and a pathway for you to connect to that information. There is nothing wrong with being skeptical. We should. There's nothing wrong with being well-informed. We should. You need to make your own decision, what is best for you and your family and the community. And you can only do that when you have the right information and the correct information to make the best decision, because it affects you and it affects everybody.
Mm-hmm. Angela writes, I don't even get a flu shot, never have, and I've been fine. I don't trust the process at all. Cool, Angela, but thank you for being here and just kind of absorbing this information this morning. That's the whole purpose of it. Again, I want to make sure people know 100% where I stand with it. You make your own decision. That's your body, that's your family, that's your health. You make your own decision. My job is just to give you as much factual information as I can find. And you might say, I don't agree with you. Cool. But as long as I know I'm giving you the facts, I can sleep good at night. That's the whole point.
I will also tell you that when we're talking about getting to zero, a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people are wearing their masks. A lot of people are doing their hand washing and distancing. Tonight in the special, we're talking about other things. If you are doing whatever you feel right now to get to zero, consider adding something else onto that list. Just consider to maybe embracing another tactic or protocol or strategy to keep us all safe. We have to get to this vaccinated community. We have to be covered so that we can live our lives. The thing that I'm most concerned about on the real is that we will be in the same place this time next year because people will not have embraced the information and technology and the information that is presented to them to make more decisions that could help protect us all. And so that's why I'm encouraging everyone to get as much information as possible. This could be a slow ride, or we can get on a pace that could get our lives back to the way that we want. One last thing tonight, what you're going to hear from people are the things that you're saying right now. How you're feeling, you're not alone. Everybody feels the same way. And I'm going to tell you, some of our folks over on the Conservative Talk Radio, they're on here tonight. And they're talking to their listeners. And we know those listeners are the ones that are like, this is a hoax. This is a this is a that, right? Some of those are actually in our own community too. And they talk about why that is. And they give them a particular plea to consider something else. And so we really decided to make sure that we had the voices at the table that could speak to people. This is the Right Now way. My company's name, Right Now Communications. It's the Right Now way. And the way we communicate is from here. It's the real. It's not pretense.
Yeah, I mean, on the political side, it's like two Cincinnati's, and we're so divided. But in terms of this virus, the virus don't care.
Doesn't.
This human to human, body to body, black, white, east side, west side, Madeira, it makes no difference. So we all in this together when it comes to this fight. I 100% believe that.
We have protocols in our house. My sons and my husband, we know, and I got to fight with them all the time. My husband is extreme extrovert and I'm extreme introvert. And I got to remind him every day to just you need to be down here. Take it down a little bit when you get out in public. You don't need to be talking to everybody. Keep your mask on, keep distance. Do you know what I mean? I got to remind him every day, right? But my sons, they know when they leave the house, they got their hand sanitizer, they got their mask, just taking their distance. It is part of our healthy habits right now. It's what we have to just do right now to protect our own. And that's what we're doing. We're protecting our own.
Yeah, I love what you're doing, just uniting all of the media, which I think is a very powerful thing, and then putting together a media that really matters in a time in which we really need it. What's the long-term plan, if you don't mind sharing?
It's like the pandemic. It's going to change and morph and develop based on the needs of the community. The next thing we're doing is obviously getting a lot of information out about the vaccine as it continues to grow and change the information that we have. We're probably going to do some conversations just like this, closer, more intimate conversations with people so that they can really get out what they want to talk about. When you're talking about health, that's personal. That's intimate, right? And so some of these conversations cannot be had in a broad public spectrum. They have to be had in a place where people feel safe and comfortable with consuming that information and digesting that information. So it's going to be developing over time. And that's the beauty of it, because we're going to meet people where they are and give them what they need. This is the difference. All the time for years, people have been talking to us and talking at us in the Black community and telling us what we need. Well, now, Sister Girl, media messenger, helping the community to know that this is how we talk to us. This is how we have a conversation and bring real information so that we can make informed decisions for ourselves. I just want to say just one more thing. I know I keep saying one more thing.
No, go right ahead.
We have the power to save ourselves. No one's going to save us. No one's going to go overboard and backwards, right? To save us. We have the power to do it. So we have to take ownership of that if we want to protect ourselves, if we wanted to move on, and we have a voice and an agency in that. So we can't just talk, we must also do and act in our own best interest. That is part of the special tonight, and that is part of the work that we do, is making sure that people have the agency to take the power into their own hands to protect themselves, and a voice to enact policies, protocols, and everything else that's in our best interest.
Marsha Rice, this was a great segment. I've been a fan of yours and Regina for a long time. This was needed. Appreciate that. Everybody loves you, Regina.
Oh, I appreciate that. It makes me feel really good. I just want to do good work. Do you know what I mean? It's all I want to do. I just want to help and do good work. And everybody who's on this chat, I want you to think about this. And everybody who's called in and everyone who's talked to someone at this time and telling them or giving them a word of encouragement, anything positive you've done in this time. 1, you're a hero. Number 2, this is historic. So you are part of history. Everything you say and that you do right now, you're going to be able to tell your grandkids, and they're going to be able to tell their kids about what occurred and what you did during this time that mattered and that helped. And with my company right now, Communications, us serving the Regional COVID Communication Center, which is powered by the Chamber of Commerce and USA Regional Chamber of Commerce and the Health Collaborative, what we are doing is using our talent and what we have to help in this very difficult time. That's all we're trying to do, is just trying to help.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very, like I said, my plan is I'm going to do sort of a watch party, offer some commentary along with the video, watch it with the audience, and then play this segment, our segment, again before and afterward, I believe.
Okay.
Just to make sure people get it and kind of bookend it, with the show and what CDM is doing as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'll jump on and I will be able to answer some questions. This is an idea that I came up with months ago. Finally got the trigger, able to pull the trigger. And I will tell you, I'm proud that when I went and asked people to participate, they said yes. CPO, Inquirer, Local 12, Radio 1, CET, VXU, they said, how can we help? And they gave us time. You know how expensive this is?
I do.
Time to let this sister give you programming to help in this time, in this critical time. I hope that you'll be proud of it. And I hope that something in it will resonate with you. I really do.
Oh yeah, for sure. Again, I got a preview of it. So yeah, for sure. Oh, absolutely.
Great. So I'll jump on tonight.
I was like, you know what? This is what we need right now. Bravo to Regina. This is what we need.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry.
Oh,
Seriously.
most deaf.
Thank you
And
very
I
much.
told you, anything in the future, CDM wants to be a part of. You already know.
You know what?
Be right there.
Thank you. And we're gonna do that. And I'm gonna come on later on tonight, and we're gonna keep on talking, people. Okay? Be safe.
Absolutely.
All right.
Let
Okay,
me
now I
see
gotta
here.
go do some distance learning teaching.
Okay. Good luck with that.
Because I'm sure they're on the games right now.
You already know. Mom ain't up there. It's playtime. Hey, Regina, thank you for the time. I appreciate you.
See you later.
Yeah, most definitely. That's
Bye.
Regina Carswell Russo chiming in. And it sounds like we'll get a chance to talk with her a little bit later. That'll be, I believe, it's 7 to 8. I have to double check the time, 7 to 8. But I did get an advanced copy of it, so I haven't got a chance to already watch the documentary, the video. To me, it's like a mini doc, special, something like that. So we'll definitely, certainly stream that as well to our audience and give you some commentary, give you a chance to talk about it in real time. And bookend it with this conversation. I want as many people to see this conversation as possible because, like I said, and I keep reiterating it, but I mean it. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm only here to serve as a conduit to information as it relates to this kind of stuff. Now, you know, this is an opinion show. So you can get a strong black male opinion on everything that's going on. Okay, that's part of the deal. But as it relates to COVID, everyone knows that I take it seriously, have taken it seriously. And have wondered aloud as to why other people don't take it seriously. You know, they want to get in their feelings and talk about politics. None of that matters. We got to beat this thing so we can get back to what people call normal. We're never going to get back to that if we don't make some short-term sacrifices right now. And I think we can do it. And in our community, and I was really, really glad to hear that the members of, you know, Dr. Crosby, Don Day, Regina, they all echoed, you know, what we echo, which is that we got every right to be suspicious of this stuff. What you talking about? And I saw the people, you know, going hard at Dr. Frank. It is what it is. You know, comes with territory. I'm sure he's got thick skin. I don't know the man, but I would imagine he's got to have thick skin. It is what it is. And I don't have a problem with it. It's all a part of our discourse. It's all a part of our history. It's all a part of how we deal with it. It is what it is. I tried to mix in as many of your questions. I'm not going to shy away from questions that are critical of the guest because, like I said, no tears. This is too serious. We need to get the information. You know, people should be challenged. If that's what you want to hear on the Nathan Ivey Show, then that's what you're going to get. Simple as that. And I think he answered all the questions as much as possible. And I appreciate it. To all the people that had questions, like I told you, in a perfect scenario, I'll step back because, you know, I always come prepared. But I'll step back and go straight to what you have to say. So you get to ask an opportunity to ask the expert. So I think we got it from, and again, we could have talked 2 more hours, quite honestly. I understand that. Their time is limited. A lot of very busy people. So they had to get back to what they're doing in their busy lives. But they spent a good hour with us this morning, and I appreciate it. You got a heads up on what's going to be happening tonight if you haven't already heard about it on some other media platforms. And like I told Regina, you know, with CDM, we want to be a part of anything that's positive for our community. That's where I want to be at, right there. Anything that's positive about us, educating us, illuminating us, giving us an advantage, giving us what we need, I'm 100% about it. 100% about it. I don't care who it is. I don't care where it is. And that's why, you know, we're willing to run that stream. Even though you're not going to hear any CDM host, I'm not a part of it. Don't matter. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than CDM. It's about us. It's about the community. And I 100% stand by that, period. Simone writes, go to the CDC website, read the ingredients in the shots, look them up and see what they have been putting in our bodies since polio. Nat writes, she's an introvert? Yeah, I didn't know that. You'd be surprised because I'm an introvert. Y'all might be able to pick that up. I'm more of an introverted person. People might be surprised. You know what? A lot of radio personalities are, quite honestly. I know a lot of radio personalities that would self-identify as being introverted. But there's always different parts of everybody's personalities. I'm nobody different when I'm on the air. I'm just louder. Away from the mic, it depends on my mood and what's going on, but I like to do my own thing. Kush writes, knowledge is power. Thanks, fam. Absolutely. It's about us. Lemmy writes, health is personal and private. I agree, 100%. She writes, we need for established Black healthcare professionals to mentor and recruit more Blacks in healthcare. Come on, doctor, nurses, ECT, especially if you're retired. Bill Daly writes, does anyone know if the vaccine is safe for pregnant women to take? You know what? Did we ask that question? I don't think we did, but I saw it. But then I got a message from the doctor who was on taking questions, Dr. Frank. And I never would have pronounced his last name like that. I'm glad he did. Saying, part of me that he had to roll out. So I didn't get a chance to get that in. If Barack Obama says take the vaccine, shut up and get the vaccine, yeah, not so quickly. Not so fast on that. I think it's going to take dip. It's not about a personality. Although personalities matter. Like if you trust someone, cool. But it's really about reaching the individual. You know what I'm saying? We are not all the same in the Black community. And what it takes to reach us, there may be some similarities, but I think it's distinct and individualized. You know what I'm saying? Because like what reaches me might not reach Brent. What reaches Brent may not reach Drop, and so on and so forth. But I love what they said. I'm a big overshare information guy. I love it. Overshare the information. Share everything, even when it's difficult to share everything. Keep that same energy. That's number one, because people can pick up on the energy. Acknowledge the historical atrocities and give us the facts and keep it real about any particular dangers. If you don't know something, tell us you don't know something. Don't act like you do when you don't, right? I mean, these are just basic things that I think from a Black community perspective that should be a part of any communication strategy when you're talking about COVID. And from what I heard, it is exactly like that. So that'll be great. We'll get a chance to talk with Regina, who is the producer of the video that everybody's going to be talking about live on our stream here on CDM. That'll be dope. I'm down with that. Thank you. Dan writes, amazing, thoughtful, caring people. These are the conversations that matter. Thank you, Dan. Absolutely. It's all props to the folks. I'm just a conduit. That's it. Lemmy writes, I have worked in healthcare. I see the disparity which contributes to the mistrust. So educate, encourage Blacks to feel help in healthcare. I agree. Letty writes, people should ask yourself common sense questions. Why keep family and friends apart? ? There is a psychological game going on. Pay attention. Read about the psychological effects that will have on humans. Is this normal? ? Did God intend for humanity to make this happen? ? Who is playing God? ? And how will COVID become an enemy? ? What is the enemy's main goal? ? Nothing just happens. Scientists create medicine to heal or destroy lives. Destruction was the enemy's goal to gain greed, power, and control. Be critical in your thinking and research. I agree with a lot of that, especially that last part. Be critical in your thinking and research. And see, that's what I want to push our audience to do. And hopefully that's what I bring to the table on day-to-day issues, is to think critically. We don't always agree, as you can hear on this show. Sometimes we disagree vehemently. You know, sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's confrontational. But hopefully it provokes conversation. And I say it up front. I ain't always right. I can admit when I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not trying to be right. That's the other thing about it. I'm not trying to be right. I'm just trying to get to the truth of the matter. That's it. Whatever it might be. On every topic. Right, wrong. I mean, that's for you to decide. Thank you, Letty. She says, outstanding show. Simone writes, COVID is not going to make racist folks in the healthcare system care about us. Doctors and scientists included. She is so right about that. She is right about that. And so she's right. I mean, we can't disagree with her. I would also say, but that doesn't mean that Black folks shouldn't take the vaccine. Again, I'm not recommending the vaccine to you. I'm just having a conversation with you. Two things can be true at the same time. Like, we know the history of the American healthcare system, and not just the history, the current realities of the American healthcare system. Look at Hamilton County. Black babies struggling to get to their first birthday. Black mothers struggling to get to their 1 year anniversary or 1 year birthday of their children still alive. How's that possible if there aren't racial healthcare disparities? Obviously they are. And they manifest themselves in ways that I can't even articulate to you right now, but we know it exists. So is all that going to go away during the pandemic? Of course it's not. Absolutely not. That goes back to what I said. Black folks ain't trying to be America's guinea pigs. We did all that. We ain't trying to do that no more. I ain't trying to take one for the team in that regard. No. My health? Leave this world and leave these beautiful babies I got? Nah, I ain't going to be able to do it. Thanks for the info, Nate. We know we have our Baba Chop cousins who don't believe anything. It is what it is. Everybody plays a role in the conversation. Simone writes, thank you for asking those questions, Nathan. Absolutely. You listen, if you take the time, I'll take the time if I'm able to. Because honestly, you guys were asking questions that weren't even on my list. So you helping me out. You helping the show out. Lemmy writes, the vaccine has a RNA factor. Does that target certain demographics? William Dean 24 is on YouTube, writes, I totally understand my people's mistrust in medicine and vaccines. However, times are different. 100%. We have more of our people working in medicine and taking a role in developing and safeguarding against unethical practices. Can things still happen? Yes, but the chances are smaller. Janine writes, I had to take a work call, but I'm back now. How soon after the show ends can we go back and listen? Immediately. As soon as this show ends on YouTube and Facebook, it'll be available on those platforms for you to listen to. Now, I'd recommend that. Now, in terms of the audio only, that's going to take me a couple of hours because I've got Midday Juice coming up. I want to make sure we all good for Midday Juice with Ask Ashley today at 1 p.m. If I can get the time, I need about 90 minutes in order to make sure that the audio is up to date with everything we heard from the video. But first, I got to take a listen to it just to make sure it didn't transfer and then do what I need to do. So in terms of video, it'll be made available. As soon as I hit the end button, wait about 2 minutes, it'll be available to you. Simple as that. You can go back and start whenever you want to. Let me see. Brent writes, you're being very cryptic about a basic question since you said you don't listen to people who identify as black or colored or African American. I think he's talking to Maurice. I'm like, wait a minute, I remember saying that. Lady writes, Drop Squab is a dumbass if you keep following what Obama told you. You may find yourself being a donkey. Obama, Biden, Harris ain't your savior. Don't sleep on anyone you idolize. They are the get ones. They are the ones who will screw you. Yeah, Obama wasn't our savior. Biden's not going to be our savior. Kamala Harris is not our savior. We are our own superheroes, period. You are the superhero in your family. You are going to have to do the heavy lifting in your family. You are the superhero in your house. You're going to have to do the heavy lifting in your house. Same for your block, your city, your county, your state, your country. It is what it is. We are what we are. Let me see here. Now people talk about Drop, saying that he worships Trump. So as I said, I mean, that was the majority of the show this morning. The big part of the show was talking with those experts and talking directly about the vaccine and COVID-19. Hopefully you got some information out of it. If not, you can always circle back around, which I'm going to do. Like I said, my plan is it's up right now, but I want to run it again later on in the evening. And then CDM is going to coincide and align with the airing of the video tonight. I believe it's at 7. I double check the time. I think it's at 7. So you can look for that on your feed. And if you haven't already done so, if you want to get a notification, go ahead and hit the notification bell from CDM. That way you'll get a notification when any of the shows and podcasts and live streams go live. Not this show, but any of the shows, you'll get a notification. Of course, coming up today, you got Midday Juice at 1 p.m. Tomorrow, 12:30 p.m., you've got the Is It Just Me podcast with Donnie B. Among other things, she's going to be talking about and answering a question I think is on a lot of people's mind as it relates to this vaccine, and that is, can your employer force you to take it? And if so, any legal ramifications? Do you have any legal remedies, any protections? She'll talk about that as well as more. She hasn't been on for a couple of weeks. Things in her family, not feeling too well. So it'll be great to hear her voice and see her back up on CDM doing a live stream. That's tomorrow. That's what the plan is. All right. So what are we, 10 a.m.? Damn, family. Damn, the time goes so damn fast. Listen, if you got a tip on a story, my text message, you can text message me directly. My number is in the description today. If you like this sweatshirt, Black Voices Matter, there's a link to where you can get the merch. All proceeds go back to CDM as we build out the platform. The mission is simple: amplify Black voices, amplify marginalized voices, create independent media in the city of Cincinnati. And if you want to get on board with that, if you're down with that, cool, great, let's connect. If you'd like to become a patron, my link is in the description as well. So that is my time. I know we didn't take any phone calls today. We had a couple people that were trying to call in when we had the guest on. It just didn't line up. Just remember, family, happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions, And I'll leave you just like that. Have an excellent rest of your day. Shout out to the Choppers. Shout out to Team NI. Shout out to my patrons. We'll talk tomorrow morning, bright and early at 7:30 a.m. for the Nathan Ivey Show. But again, later on today, my plan is to do a watch party with the Getting to Zero video that Regina was talking about. All of the legacy media outlets are going to be playing at the same time. CDM is in line with legacy media. As I said before, there's a place for legacy media and independent media inside the same market, inside the same community. And so I'm looking forward to that. All right. Have an excellent rest of your day. We'll talk real soon. I'm Nathan Ivey, and I'm out.
The Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
Yeah. Talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a that's what they don't understand.
I'm back again like flu season. I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving. Don't give a I don't care. Did the for my lonesome. No wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run. All I really want is my share. Get on my God, on my told them it's nothing. In the discussion, for the feelings I throw all my pain on percussion. It's disgusting. I hear them bragging about that they did, and it do not move me, not in the least. They ain't been dropping no seeds in the soil, but swear that you on my spot at the feast. I've been on go mode, show mode, showboat, rowboat, wave ride, cool shorty too.